Welcome, everyone. This is the Universal Voice Radio Network, and we are joined with Drake, Tanaath, and Sunfire. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi.
How do?
Glad to have all of you with us. I know our audience is ecstatic. They have been bombarding us with a lot of questions, so get ready. I hope you've got beverages aplenty to keep your palate moistened up and answer lots of questions, because they've been anticipating this for a while now, and everybody's really excited. So I'm going to let you start out, Drake, and go ahead and let us get started.
Okay. A lot of the things that people have been curious about, a lot of the things that are well known to us are not well known to the general audience of the general population of the planet. Many of these things need to be outed, and that's part of the reason that we're having this show. As things progress, and a lot of the people listening are familiar with some of it, some are even beginning to experience it. So as things progress, what we're looking to do is bring more of the information forward so that people will not feel like they've been left in the dark or in some way left out of the information trail. Now, the basis of the idea in terms of releasing information does two things. It gives somebody an option where they can actually make an informed decision about what's going on and whether they wish to participate. Not difficult to understand. Second part of it is that the alleviation of the fear of the unknown and what might transpire, maybes, and other bumps in the night are to be alleviated by turning the light on, letting people know what's going to go on, what they can expect to an extent, and the fact that we've been extraordinarily busy lately. These things have been needed to have been brought out for some time, and I don't mind doing a show of this nature for several reasons. One is that I am involved. The ladies we have on tonight can verify or validate any of that as we can. Now, I will caution people, as I have told them in the past, there are some things, not a lot, but some things that cannot be openly discussed. Some of this information cannot be, as such, outed to the extent that people feel comfortable with. Sorry about that, but that happens. It is a matter of maintaining things in such a fashion so that everything comes off smoothly. In other words, doesn't matter the intelligence level involved, and it does not matter the information involved. What matters is, first of all, making sure that this happens correctly. That's part of it. Second part is to, within that correctness, offer people the idea that they may be able to make their own decisions. Ooh, yeah, free will. And the fact that there are a great number of people, as everybody knows, on this planet that are trying to make sure that we regarner our freedoms. This has been the basis for the activities in the higher realms, known as ETs, angels, etc. There is nothing wrong with somebody taking issue with any of it. The only thing that I ask, as I always do, please do everybody a favor and be succinct in terms of the questions you're looking at trying to get an answer to. I know that it's difficult to ask an intelligent question when you don't know much of what's happening. Some people know more than others. So don't worry about asking a stupid question. That don't exist. And the reason it doesn't is that somebody is honestly wanting to know something that they are ignorant of, that they have not had the information on. And when that information is given, then that person can go and make a really succinct determination as to, well, that's different, or, I thought it was the other way, or whatever the end result may be. we need to strive together as individuals to look at the coming events. And everybody has heard of, we're going to get our freedom back any day, any minute, ooh-wee. And that's great. I am overtly honored to be a part of that. Then you have the other part of it. We're going through and heading towards a transition. That transition, as everybody knows, is a change, a major one, both for everything on the planet and the planet itself. What I'm looking at is that people need to understand it, first of all, so that the fear is alleviated. Secondly, so that individuals can decide if they wish to participate. There is no requirement to participate. I want to be very clear on that. The requirement is that you learn enough, pay attention enough, and garner enough information that you can then ask your final questions at the time so that you can make your decision. And somebody such as myself or others may be able to assist in that decision process. That's it. Next.
Well, that was quite an intro. Yeah, I agree with all of that. One of the things that this is Tanaath, by the way, one of the things that I try to emphasize is that you're not required to be a passenger in your own life. There is a certain onus on the individual to take control of their life and live it, not just simply subsist and let everything, the winds of fate, push you around. You know, stand up and do something. Be a person. You have that right and you have that obligation. And the other thing I usually like to tell people is experiences do not always happen in the way that you expect them to. A lot of people have asked for experiences in very, very specific forms. For instance, somebody landing in the White House lawn, or public disclosure on CNN or something like that. That's not going to happen. Instead, look for the experiences that exist and accept them for what they are, even if they don't come in the form that you prefer.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that, what both of you said.
My suggestion is that we look at getting involved with Q&A more or less from the get-go for two reasons. It makes things easier. We will cover subjects that people want to hear about. And the other nice thing is that we can blame it on somebody else.
Indeed. And maybe we should introduce, I think many of our listeners are familiar with myself, and of course I would think that all, if not, most if not all are familiar with Drake. Sunfire, we should introduce her, is a member of the Galactic Federation of Planets. She is an incarnate. Her particular species hails from the system of Tau Ceti. She is involved as a diplomatic incarnate or envoy and comes bearing a lot of information on the history of this particular planet and the things that went on here, particularly from about 26,000 years ago to about the point of the fall of Atlantis, 14,000 years ago. So she's a bit of, she's very knowledgeable in those regards. And she's also very knowledgeable about the protocols of the Galactic Federation of Planets and the way of life of the Galactic Federation of Planets. Now, I myself am Tanaath of the Silver Legion. We're recent arrivals to the Galactic Federation of Planets, but definitely finding our new home to be quite to our tastes and very wonderful. And we're a more military-oriented branch of the GFP, and what we're attempting to do is basically protect people and smooth the way and get rid of the stuff that just don't belong so that people have a chance to drive down their own road free and open as they will. With that said, let's take a look at some of these questions.
Okie dokie. Most of these questions, they come from, of course, our group. They come from email. They come from our chat room. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with our questions. Some of these are directed specifically, and then some of them are not. The first question is for you, Tanaath. Questions being one yourself, I am sure you are familiar with the concept of star seeds. And upon my own curiosity as a star seed from the Alpha Centauri system, I ask what you know about the Alpha Centaurians. At this time, they're aiding in the plan, and what else you may be able to add about who they are, what they look like, or if you have ever worked with any. Thank you so much for your work.
Oh, I could definitely help there. We love the Alpha Centauris, don't we, Sunfire?
Yes, we do.
Yep. They are members of the Galactic Federation of Planets. They are human. They're one of the progenitor races of modern humans on this planet.
The Irish.
Yes, mostly the Irish. They are known...
I believe the Italians, too.
And some of the Scandinavians as well. They are known for being red-headed, freckled, and very, very cheerful. And they are very, very good at creating cures for weaponized microorganisms. So definitely it's an association that we enjoy.
They're a lot of fun at parties, too.
Yes, they are. And I've seen one of their ships in the sky. It looked like a top made out of fire. It was really cool.
It says, I have a few questions for whoever can answer them. So I'm throwing them out there to you guys. Okay, a few days ago I had a dream where I was visited by a being. It looked almost childlike with a large bald head. It had normal yellow pinkish skin tone, but its eyes seemed to be black and not like the grays, because it was just the iris that was black. However, as far as I could tell, there was no white in the eye. It seemed to as if it was a part of it was transparent. It didn't feel hostile, and it was almost playful and a bit mischievous. Any idea what kind of being this might have been?
Yeah, we refer to those as the black-eyed men in black. They used to show up as adults in business suits, usually after somebody had some kind of psychic or UFO-related experience, masquerading as government officials. They are not human. They are also extremely dangerous. If you are approached by one of these, don't give them anything. Don't let them into your home. Don't agree to anything. Just ignore them, turn them away. Do the no comment stonewall. These are not safe beings to interact with in any way.
Okay. But they're not necessarily evil and going to attack you, correct?
They eat people's souls, so I don't know if you would describe that as evil
good.
or as attack. Yeah.
Okay, well that's not good. Okay, avoid.
I would consider that to be an attack. So if you encounter one of these beings, I would avoid it at all costs.
Okay. Okay, what do you know about the I guess it would be pronounced Arcturians that are a part of the Federation of Planets, and what do they look like?
Sunfire, are you able to describe what they look like? I can't remember.
Sure. Well, the Arcturians, they're one of the taller races. They're humans. They're actively involved in assisting with the liberation of Earth in various forms. One of the things they're helping with is stabilizing the tectonic plates and minimizing the damage that earthquakes cause and stabilizing the poles. They're also known to be really good with working with various alternate realities and reality in general. And
they're also really good with weather.
Yes. Weather, they're also, I know this is a big topic for everybody, they're also actively involved in cleaning up the chemtrails.
Here's another one. Do you know of any dark-skinned human-like ETs like Afro-Americans, and if so, who are they?
Oh, definitely. That's the Nicoteans, who are from the Antares system. There's 2 inhabited planets in Antares. One are the Nicoteans, who are the ancestors of Black Africans as well as a number of other groups on this planet. Their skin tone ranges from very, very dark to a light mocha color. They tend to have usually black hair that's very tightly curled, and usually have brown, tan, golden, or slightly reddish colored eyes. Not like evil glowing red eyes, but it's actually a very pretty carnelian shade. They tend to be tall by Terran standards, usually between about 6 and 8 feet in height, and they are very, very friendly. On their planet, they're typically pastoralists. They really enjoy nature, and they really enjoy, I guess you could say, agriculture and animal husbandry. They are also incredibly competent fighters, but they are very peaceful by nature. So you wouldn't want to start anything with them, but if you did, they'd be the ones finishing it. They're great people, and we are very, very glad to have them as allies and friends. The ambassador to the Silver Legion from the Andromeda Council is actually a Nicotean. His name is Ndano Ndoli, and he's a very wonderful guy.
I heard Drake snickering in the background there. Okay.
Well, a lot of people don't get this, but I'm going to explain it. People don't understand that you are dealing with off-world languages. When somebody names somebody here on this planet, it seems logical and, everything's cool and, sounds the way it's supposed to and all that. Some of the languages from off-planet, that's like the, upstairs, do not translate well into any form of language on this planet. Consequently, you're going to have these little minor whoop-de-doos in terms of actually being able to translate something. I just thought I'd bring that up for the fun of it.
I totally agree. A good example of that is one of the ship or fleet commanders in the Federation. His name, to pronounce it here on Terra, would be like basically throwing out this big, huge swear word with twisting your tongue out at the same time. But the meaning of it is sky ray. It's like the rays that we have here in the ocean, but they have them up there in the sky on their planet. And so instead of sounding like I'm swearing and twisting my tongue out every time I mention this crewmate, what I do is I just pulled out the English translation of the meaning of his name and just went with that. And it's, sometimes the translation is what becomes their nickname in conversations and stuff, because there are a lot of the names that are just impossible to pronounce in English.
Yeah. This captain in question, his name sounds a lot like an English term for an embarrassing bathroom incident, so we call him Sky.
Okay. All right. Let's see. This one is for Drake or whomever. You mentioned that people will be given the choice of ascending to 4D or staying the same but on another 3D planet. Does this mean that we will have to die first and then reincarnate into whatever dimension we choose?
No. That gets very complicated very quickly, and the reason it does is because of the misapplication of the ideology involved. When people actually understand what's going on, they'll understand much better that dying is not as much healthy. There's several ways you can go fool with that, and that basically is one of the ways that I know should be brought out for the simple fact that people have that mistaken idea.
Okay. The next question is, will we basically have to pay for all of our sins first before we're allowed to ascend to whatever dimension we have chosen, as in the Christian faith? In the words of some of us, will we be going to heaven and the rest of the sinners will be going to hell?
No.
Okay.
The whole concept of paying for sins before you're allowed to transition to the next dimension is something that was put into history and mythology in all the books and stuff by the Redcoys, the Dracos.
Okay. A question for you, Sunfire. In terms of Terran technology, have you ever seen or tested one of the Terran-made replicators or any of the advanced computer systems that were supposedly made from reverse-engineered off-world technology?
I haven't here on Terra, but I mean, I do know about the Federation-style replicators and a lot of the Federation technology, and from what I know, the replicators that are going to be handed out to the population, they're an actually more advanced, stable form of than what replicators that are being kept right now from the general population.
Okay, this next question is for any one of the three of you, or all three. Aside from timelines, are there any other disagreements between the Andromeda Council and the groups that you guys are working with that we should know about?
Not
Of any?
Let's say, not game-breaking things. Mostly it comes down to personal opinions. So no, there are no large systemic disagreements. There is a very lively debate going on as to what should be done with reptilians in the eventuality that we push them back all the way to their home systems. But no, we generally tend to agree with each other on the big issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to comment on that too, Sunfire?
No, I think Tanaath really put it quite accurately that we, when it comes to the big issues, we generally do agree with each other, collectively, and then it's just, it'll be like, on a more personal scale, it'll be one person having a different idea or a different approach to something, but it'll still end up with the same result.
Okay. All right. This question is for Tanaath. I would like to ask Tanaath to share what she knows about the ascension and what will happen with our houses and or clothing. Will our houses disintegrate or fall down due to artificial or non-natural components? Same question as for clothing. I want to be ready if I'm going to become homeless and naked during a Chicago winter. There are parts that I do not want to be frostbit. Plus, if the next question is, if you have ever been to Chicago or northern Illinois area, he would like to have a date, please, and chocolate pudding would be on him.
I think my boyfriend would probably protest that. I have never been to Chicago. I live in Canada, so I can share your concerns about disappearance of
clothing and housing.
Clothing and housing in the middle of -40. It doesn't really appeal to me either. That is one thing that I personally don't think that's required. I don't think it's I don't think anybody's going to be freezing their unmentionable parts out in the snow. I don't think that it's, I live a very minimalist life. I don't have a lot of possessions. I don't really own anything except that which I require to live. I have a few knickknacks, but that's about it. I don't get attached to stuff because it's not going to last. It's stuff. What you need to live, you'll have. Further than that, we can build it up again.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm curious to know more about the Insectoid race. I'm pretty sure that they're not the most cuddly of all races out there, but I can't seem to find much information about them. Can any of you share a little bit about the Insectoid race?
Well, there's a number of different kinds of insectoid races. Insectoid is a class, not an actual race in and of itself, like human or anything like that. There's many, many different kinds. Some are nice, some are not. We've met some that look like praying mantises and were really, really awful. We've met some that look like praying mantises and were really, really cool. We know some that we call them the paladin bugs because they have a very, very strict honor code, and can't even physically conceive of doing something that is against the honor code. They're really nice guys as long as you know what makes them tick.
Okay. And will that be a learned thing? Will we all, when we go through this process, will we, just be thrust among all these different races and have to learn, what's benevolent and what's not, and again?
Not right away.
Yeah, I think what the plan is to at first limit the exposure, and like right away limit the exposure, and then gradually introduce various races and stuff to not shock the population too much.
Likely, in all likelihood, it's going to be a matter of meeting your ancestors before you meet any of the funky-looking ones.
Yeah.
What are the criteria for moving into 4D, and how do we properly prepare ourselves in order to do so?
A heartbeat.
On the surface.
A heartbeat.
Yeah.
And in the event of somebody who is, clinically dead but revivable on the operating table at the critical moment, probably even a heartbeat isn't necessary.
But otherwise, just being here on the surface of the planet when the transition kicks into high gear, that's pretty much it.
Okay. This next one is for
you're
Drake.
going to want to do. Can I add to that?
Go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
You're going to want to do the self-work anyway, but not because it is the deciding factor of whether or not you will or will not ascend. You're going to want to do the self-work because it's going to be a lot less personally traumatic for you if you do it.
Yeah.
Can you advise us of the names of the planets and beings that are a part of the Galactic Federation of Planets, or is there a place where we can go look that up? And can you post this information, please, on Drake's website or another so that we have a list?
Actually, there's several hundred planets and star systems, and as far as I understand it, and there is not a website out there that has any accurate information with the Galactic Federation of Planets or its members.
Okay.
I could probably compile a very short list, but it would just be, be very minimal at this point.
Okay.
And that kind of information is hard to bring through in a large chunk like that.
And then also it's because of safety protocols, it's not a good idea to name each and every race and being that's involved in the liberation efforts right now.
Yeah, there are security concerns with that.
Drake, I see you as an idealist. I understand this because I am one too, and that is why I have listened to every of your programs of yours since your interview with David Wilcox, because I do so want to see a better world for my loved ones and all of humanity. But I am disturbed by the talk of the planet's ascension to 4D. My understanding of spiritual teachings is that ascending or evolving is an individual process. In fact, my feeling is that my one true purpose in life is the continued development of my consciousness by means of truth, logic, love, harmony, ability, knowledge, wisdom, etc., over billions of incarnations. To me, this makes perfect sense logically and realistically. In my mind, this is the only way I or my spirit can evolve to become an enlightened human being such as Jesus Christ. To say that a planet can ascend just doesn't make sense to me. It seems that what you are saying is that everyone is getting a free ride into 4D, whether or not they do their due diligence to evolve their consciousness. My question is, do your insiders that give you your information also say that the planet is going to ascend to the fourth dimension like you do, or is this just your belief? Also, religions are said to be systems of beliefs. So how is what you are saying about the planet ascending into 4D any different, and what about free will? Woo!
Well, that sounds about average.
You're not going to get off easy, Drake.
Oh, of course not. First of all the efforts that you're talking about making, they don't stop just because you go up a notch in the dimensions. And I need to express quite clearly that when you change something as dramatically as these changes are that are coming in the transition, you got to learn to walk again. You start out with a lot of knowledge, not that much changes in terms of what your perception is. Then all of a sudden you start running into, well, that don't work right. I wonder what's, all of these first things first, life skills, going from there into more intricate skills is an ongoing process. And as far as I know, it does not stop. The learning process is continual. To give a good light to religious belief causes me one basic problem. Each and every last one of them is contradictory in its basis. In one part of the Bible, as an example, you find a loving God, big brother in the sky, do anything for you and help you out and all this sort of thing. And in the very next chapter, dude, you either do it my way or I'm going to stick a lightning bolt where you don't want one. I find that a serious conflict. Within other belief systems, you'll find similar conflicts of a different type, but conflicts nevertheless. The ideology is very simple. The creator, and I do not mean lesser gods, Zeus or any of the other people that we know as, quote, lesser gods. The basic law is freedom of will. And I want everybody to catch this and hold on to it, because this is one of the critical points that everybody misses. There is no absolute correct way to absolutely do everything, because nobody except Source knows enough to do that. Meaning that you'll forever strive for the perfection and never quite get there, but you'll make dramatic improvements in yourself in the process. Second part of that is that the origins of religious belief are those whom we fight against. The bad entities that are here on this planet doing the things they're not supposed to do to their fellow man are of the same ilk, the same kind, the same general origin. The ideology then, in terms of freedom of will, comes back to, do you want to go to 4D? Free ride? No. No, it's going to be anything but. This is not going to be a all nice flowers and harps and whatever transition. Some of the things that you're going to experience will test your sanity and your capability to hold on. This I know from my own personal experiences. The idea that somebody gets a free ride to become something that they should not be, well, those people, they have special schools for. There is going to be, for those who are at least aware and not afraid of things that go bump in the night and the dark and whatnot, and think they have a good handle on themselves and the tenacity to keep going, still, you're going to need schooling. And the schooling is for two reasons. The ideology is to do no harm. The ideology is for beings who are superior to allow those who are not, in other words, lesser beings, to be all they can be, to help them. In other words, you don't step on a nest full of baby birds. That ain't right. This is the ideology. So, do no harm. Free will. Those are cosmic laws. You've heard of the karmic law of cause and effect. Yeah, well, you've heard of things called Hades and hell and all kind of nice little places that somebody, I don't know what they were smoking, but they dreamed it up. And I got my own nightmares. I don't need somebody else helping me down the road to purgatory. So, Who says purgatory? I can't find that in the Bible anywhere. So somebody made it up. And so you got the imaginations running. You've got falsehoods, you can call them lies, whatever you want to, that have been perpetrated upon mankind for one simple effect. And that basic effect is control. Total and absolute control. There are ETs out there who are some of the most wonderful people I've ever come across, the most enlightening beings and gracious entities beyond my imagination. I could not believe how beautiful some of these things are. And I say things because they don't look like us. They are just a little bit different. That's fine. I don't care. And yet you got the other ones that would do anything to you that crossed their mind that would cause you strife, pain, and other nasty things. You're going to find that man's inhumanity to man is all a big falsie. You'll find that we've been lied to on a very grand basis. Those lies perpetrated our society. The government's loaded with it. I mean, this is more than obvious. So why wouldn't they lie about something that everybody would feel is righteous, would feel that it is a truly heartfelt integrity between you and the Creator? If they can get you to believe the wrong way, then you have serious problems getting your head around the idea that, yes, the planet is going to transition. This is a cosmic clock. It is not controllable. You can't reset it, and the alarm's getting ready to go off. So the essence of what you have to deal with is, no, there's many people that will not. Absolutely. I believe in what it says in the Bible, and you ain't changing my mind, and, they go all nasty about it sometimes. That's all well and good. It's your freedom of will. You make your decision. You'll be given the information as much as you can handle at the time in order to make a good decision for you. Not for everybody else, not for everybody, because everybody ain't going. I can tell you that now. Those who decide they want to take a roller coaster ride into heaven, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, get in and fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be fun. I hope that answers the question.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, next, this is for Tanaath and/or Sunfire. We are hearing that we will begin 4D transition soon. Will the healing come to those most in need before 2014, or if it is in 2014, any particular part of that year that you know of? I know exact dates are not applicable, just hoping sooner rather than later. A good friend of mine just had a stroke and is failing fast in other areas. So many of us need help so very soon. Just wondering and hoping that triage will take most needy first and people like me last. Thank you for sharing with us.
I do know that humanitarian efforts are a high priority. As soon as it becomes possible, humanitarian efforts take precedent over, for instance, being able to go to your neighbor and say, I told you so. So the emphasis is definitely going to be on that. As for timelines, I don't know. As for whether it will happen before or after transition, it all depends on the events of the next little while, what we can pull off, what you guys can pull off, various things like that. In addition to the natural processes going on at this time, we also have a climate of opposition created by those who would like to obstruct and cause suffering at every point of the way. And, they're keeping us out.
Let's see. The next one's for you also, Drake. You said that you can tell if somebody is able to go into 4D or not what can I do, or what does he need to know about me in order to tell if I will be able to make it through to 4D or not?
I was wondering when that one would come up. It would take a simple conversation. Certain questions need to be answered to get your feel on things. I was a licensed counselor in Florida, and where I lived for a few years. And whatever someone discusses with me stays with me. I don't advertise for nobody for any reason. Even if they tell me to, I tell them, "No, you're going to do it, not me." And I keep that pretty tight to the breast for several reasons. The main thing that you got to look at is this. What is it that you want to accomplish? In terms of accomplishment, you will find that there are not very many things that are improbable for you to be able to access. So the idea of the limitations people would run across in terms of ascensions and things of this nature very well may not be applicable in any way, shape, or form. And many people get lost or have a hard time with that ideology. There's a reason that they do, and that reason is very simple. You have been led down a primrose path. There are a load of people out there that do not want you to know what's going on. The reason they do not want you to know what's going on is because they do, and they want to keep the prize money, whatever you want to look at that, to themselves for their benefit. No other reason. So, in dealing with the things that become most important, it takes personal interaction. And the things that are most important is, one, it's available to whomever really wants it. Number two, each individual has the capabilities that have been discussed. Number three, I wrote a book that explains to you how to become aware of yourself to the extent that you can do something with it. Number four, the idea of these programs is to get the information out that is prevalent. Some of it may not be discussed. You may get an answer of, I don't know anything about that, when we do, simply so that things will work correctly. At the proper time, more information will be added. Until that time, everybody's going to be kind of mum on the subject. Simply, this way, we make sure that everybody has an equal shot to get to where they're trying to go. This does not exclude or preclude anybody from participating. It actually promotes participation. So the idea of am I qualified or something of this nature is not applicable. What is applicable is that you go if you want to, and you go from there. Okay?
Okay. The question, the person continues, can Drake do this for a faithful listener who never gave up his faith in him? Tell him that Bill Cooper, or William Cooper, is my icon, and even being dead, he woke me up from the state of being a sheeple just watching his videos and reading Behold a Pale Horse. And then he has a question for Tanaath, and that is, maybe this will look kind of crazy, but can you help me visit Harmony and hug everybody there, including you? I need hugs since I have got too much mocking from the surrounding people.
We like hugs in the Silver Legion. We really like hugs in the Silver Legion, I will say that. As for visiting Harmony, I cannot physically take you to Harmony or anyone else, not even myself for that matter, not at this time. But if you are capable of astral projection or out-of-body travel, you will be able to visit Harmony. And in the future, when Earth transitions to the next dimension and the borders are open, so to speak, and interaction is possible, Yeah, no doubt. There will be people who can go visit Harmony, and you may be among them. We do plan on opening recruiting stations on Earth for those who are interested in becoming Silver Legionnaires after transition. I know there are probably more than a few people on this planet who are interested in going to the stars and fixing this kind of problem on other planets, and we would like to make that opportunity available through us. There are also other groups that will no doubt be doing the same. Yes, including the Federation. So there will be plenty of opportunities for Terrans to take to the stars and discover things. In addition, it will be necessary for this planet and its people to establish their own space defense force, their own space militia, I suppose you could consider it, for the defense of this planet, and also for the ability to get humanitarian aid in the event of a natural or other disaster. So there will be opportunity for Terrans to enjoy Terran endeavors in space. So it's not going to be closed to you. The borders are going to be open. It's going to be an exciting time. Will it be all cake and roses? Well, I'm a celiac, so I'm hoping that if there is cake, it's gluten-free. There remain challenges to life at any level of existence, no matter what. The nature of the challenges change. There is not always the same level of suffering that we are accustomed to. When it comes to challenge, I will say this, without challenge, life is darn boring. So there will always be something to keep you interested, keep you going, keep you progressing as a being, keep you learning, keep you hopefully loving, enjoying life, and moving forward as opposed to backwards or staying still.
Question for anyone. If the ascension is supposedly going to occur in mid-January of 2014, that doesn't leave a very large window for people to understand what is going on and to make a free will decision on whether or not to stay or go to another 3D planet. I think that the last show that you were on, I heard you say that people will have to decide possibly before the end of summer, although it might have been someone else who said that. That would mean that people the world over will be informed very shortly about those choices. Is it a fair and accurate statement on my part?
One would hope so.
Okay.
Given that we're talking about a cosmic event here, accurately predicting the time frame and how anything's going to happen in regards to it is just an estimation. I mean, not even the best precogs in the entire universe could accurately predict a cosmic event and expect it to stick.
Okay, I do believe that they're getting this mid-January from something that Tolek said, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yep, that is the opinion and the estimation of the Andromeda Council.
Okay.
We're a little fuzzier on timelines.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
A little more flexible.
And then they. Okay, they continued. I cannot wait for the roller coaster to leave the station. This is going to be one interesting ride. Thanks so much for giving us your time to do these broadcasts, and that goes to all of you, and hope that there will be more in the future. So, and we prefaced it with that, didn't we? Okay, Tanaath, I'm very interested in what people from the Procyon system look like and in their culture. Do they have a spoken language? How do their people stationed in our solar system communicate back home to their families? I'm very impressed with all of you, y'all, but especially those guys. Anything specific you can tell us about them individually and as people? I believe the planet is, and I can't even pronounce it, Kaena?
Kiana?
Yeah.
Kaena? Yeah, I think Kaena is the name of the Procyon home planet. There's some 12 or 13 planets in the Procyon system, and in general, it's the same species that occupies all of them. They're human. They tend to be very tall, on the order of 10 to 15 feet. They tend to be blonde, although sometimes they're also black-haired, usually blue-eyed or golden-eyed, yellow-eyed, and usually have either straight or curly hair. They're very, very nice people. The ones I know all tend to be very, very big practical jokers, especially Kyla. Anybody who's met Kyla in person, now he does exist in the UFO literature. At some point he did speak to some people on this planet. But anybody who's interacted with him closely on a personal basis knows he's an incorrigible practical joker.
Okay.
Is he not Sunfire?
He is. Oh my God. You end up. All I ever really remember when it comes to Kyla is you end up with your entire core sore as a bone because of him. It's always from laughing so hard.
Yep. Give yourself a laughter injury, more or less. He is very, very effective in his chosen line of work. They are in generally a fairly fun-loving, joyful people, which is very, very positive in itself because their system was occupied by reptilians and greys and hostiles for a very long time, and they only recently freed themselves. Most Procyon people have the ability to travel dimensions and times innately, so they're able to go into the timeline and the time stream and do stuff there. When there's anything to do with time, I go running to Kyla because it twists my brain into a knot and I just don't want to think about it. It's kind of like calculus.
Okay.
They're also one of the most prolific as far as influencing the general global populations. They've interbred on multiple occasions with Karen to help improve the quality of the genetic diversity of the planet. As I know one of the questions was about a language. It's very hard to describe the languages that they have within among them, but one of the languages here on Terra that is very heavily influenced by the Procyons would be Chinese, with the true ancient form of Chinese with the billion symbols comes as a dialect of one of the planets from Procyon.
Mm-hmm. And their writing would probably look very, very familiar to those who studied ancient Chinese writing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They use telepathy and ship travel to be able to travel to their families and speak with their families. They have tech that allows them to get home to their families within hours. So, you can work all week on the ship and then go back and spend time with your family. A lot of them have families who are also in the service, so they never really get separated from them either. So it's not such a hard thing.
Okay. This next question is for Sunfire. When I was keeping tabs with a man named John Kettler, there was a Sunfire assisting him. Are you the Sunfire on the show tonight with Drake? Are you the same person as the assistant to John Kettler?
I am, but I haven't been in contact or providing any information for him for probably well over a year now. My duties and obligations to the Federation basically took precedence, and I was told that I needed to focus exclusively on my mission work with the Federation, and I had to not continue working with him anymore. And I still wish him well, and that,
okay.
So, but yeah, I haven't had any contact with him or provided him any information for well over a year now.
Okay, thank you. Why do you think that there is a difference between Drake, your teaching, that everyone will have a free will of choice to transition into 3D or 4D, and the RA teaching that transition will depend on a 50% plus service to others?
What's the what teaching?
The raw material. Okay. It's the raw
material
from the Galactic Confederation of Reptoids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drake, are you there? You might be sitting
Yeah,
on the
I'm
mute
here.
button again. Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was standing on it. People are going to have a choice, okay? I'll say this very succinctly. Some of the information was not freely given or freely available for varying reasons. One of those is that a lot of the people that people listen to decided that they would take it upon themselves to play switch-o, change-o, and we will do it our way and make it come out so that we can get stuff into our inbox and garner a larger audience. This is not, and I'm going to say this very clearly, I want everybody to really hang on it, this is not the intent nor purpose of what these shows are about. The ideology of these shows is to get the correct information out to as many people who care to listen. It's not to garner larger audiences. It's not to puff ourselves up or any of the fun and games that you've probably listened to or heard from somewhere. You're going to find that some of the things that I've stated are a lot more accurate than you think when you first hear them. And yet some of the information was not supposed to have been outed yet. Now, I've had some discussions with some people so that does not happen again. Part of this is not altogether the doings of any particular person other than just me. So anything that comes out to be in any way seemingly off can be partially attributed to my jumping the gun a bit. I want everybody to understand that it was not intentional for me to mislead or cause problems in the process. But these things do happen. Now, if anybody's listened to the regular shows I have, you'll find this prevalent. If I make a mistake, I'll be the first one to stick it and say, that wasn't right. That's what I'm trying to get across right now. Some of the stuff, and I'm not saying that the information was bad, some of the stuff should not have been outed as of yet. There's a difference between actually making a mistake in terms of false information or incorrect information and allowing information out too soon. Now, everybody is going to have a choice. That's true. The planet is going, and those who decide to stay here are going. We're all going to 4D. The transition is going to happen. Those who do not or decide they can't, accommodations will be made for them. Nobody's going to be stuck. I want that to be perfectly clear. So, information's correct. It was just a little early. Next.
Okay. May I actually interject in there?
Sure.
When it comes to things like the law of one material, when it comes to any source at all, whether it's, myself, or Tolek, or Drake, or the law of one, or a certain florid commentator on the Internet who runs his own Internet news channels that involves prisons and planets, one thing you should pay attention is how does the information make you feel? If it incites fear, panic, hostility, terror, a feeling of, oh my God, got to do this or that, the other thing, that kind of thing, it is probably not given to you with your best interests or the best intentions in mind. If, however, it empowers you, it gives you an opportunity to think, to analyze, to go forward and investigate mentally on your own, and makes you feel empowered, then it is probably more likely to be useful and true. You're not obligated to take anybody's information at face value. Put it through your discernment. It really does matter.
Excellent. Okay, great. You indicated that humans from Alpha Centauria are red-headed with freckles. So if I have red hair and freckles, can I assume that I came from Alpha Centaurian and possibly my mother and her family, since they are all Italian and came from there?
Well, I wouldn't. I would assume that at least some of your ancestors are. There's it's very, very rare on this planet that you find a person who is 100% any given genetic group.
Okay.
That was the whole point behind the experiment, after all. Mix.
Mm-hmm. Most people have at least a combination of between 3 to 7 main influences genetically, but the entire planetary population at this it has between 22 and 25 different races contained within their genetic soup.
Wow. Okay.
And then you go to Panama and you might find people who actually have all 24 or 25 or whatever number it is.
More evenly balanced, yeah.
Are more nuclear missiles deactivated, as has been talked about before, including during citizen hearings recently? What was that what is that situation?
They're constantly deactivated, and sometimes in the interest of playing pranks, we'll shut them down, turn them back on, or we just kill them altogether. But
they're deactivated on the fly.
Yeah, but the plan is to remove all nuclear fissionable material from the planet before the transition, because it cannot transition with Terra into 40.
Yeah, it's not nice stuff.
Drake or Tanaath, is Earth hollow, and if so, who lives there? And is that a place where some of us would like to visit?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, me either. There's nobody there.
I'm not really getting into some of these for a simple reason. I know where these things lead. They've been asked several different times before, and some of them are not exactly given in the spirit of trying to
educate themselves.
Well, not just educate, but even being reasonable. So, no, that's one of the reasons I'm not jumping on some of these.
Okay.
But just the Earth's hollow.
Okay.
It was geologically engineered in the Ursa Major system before being transferred here a long time ago, and it is about 7.5 billion years old.
Whoops, I thought it was Canis Major. Oh, got my majors wrong.
Well, one of the majors, anyway. I believe it was Ursa Major.
Okay, next question is Tanaath. Okay, wait a minute. Thank you, Drake and Tanaath and Sunfire, for increasing communications and to help us prepare for both mentally and heart-wise. I've been doing all I can example-wise in this area, but oh man, is this going to be real interesting. Tanaath has recently been referred to as Thoth by yourself and others. I would like to know if Thoth, whom has communications with Mark Kimmel from the ship named Abantian, is the same beloved that we know as Tanaath. And didn't she mention another celestial by the name of Adriel that is also on the same ship? And lastly, do you know the current post that Silver Morrow is doing at this time?
Okay, I'm not too sure how to pronounce that name, Tauf or Tauf or whatever. I am not the same entity. Thoth is a shortening of Tathani, which is my peace name. I use my war name because we're involved in a war, which is Tanaath. My species has a naming tradition of a peace name and a war name, and depending on the situation at the moment, we use one or the other as appropriate.
Okay, so not the same.
When it comes to I'm not stationed on the Athabantian. Actually, my home ship is known as the Shazier.
Okay. Okay, next question. We got to keep moving here. Let's see.
Morrow's doing fine, by the way.
Okay, Morrow's doing fine. Okay. That answered that one. Okay. Tanaath tells us that she came to Terra, planet Earth, the first time about 12,000 years ago. Cultural Anthropology 101 teaches that domestication of the animals began some 10,000 years ago. Can you tell us, was the human animal part of that domestication?
Well, first of all, cultural anthropology still does not recognize the existence of any of the lost civilization or lost continents. You don't hear in anthropology or archaeology classes about the fact that we have found irradiated cities that are over 10,000 years old that have been clearly hit with nuclear weaponry. There is a lot left out of the official explanation. So we'll start with that. When we move on to domestication of humanity, in terms of reptoid interference with human civilization, yes, that occurred after the fall of Atlantis. Sunfire also has information on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next... Oh, go ahead, honey.
No, go ahead. I mean, unless you wanted me to add to that.
What they wanted to know was the human animal part of the domestication that went on? And then...
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, and the second question is, prior to domestication, were humans an herbivore or carnivore?
I believe humans have always been omnivores.
Okay. And
because
in regard...
you're looking at, Homo sapiens being almost a complete genetic different class of humans compared to the others. In the past you've got the various types, and there's a lot of genetic differences between the the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnons and that kind of thing, and then you've got current Homo sapiens are probably they're we're different genetically. So
we have theorized on this planet events so terrible that human civilization ends up more or less back in the Stone Age. This has happened. This happened at the fall of Atlantis. We went from being a very highly civilized, high-tech civilization with very keen understanding of the world around us and the universe around us to Stone Age. And we had to build ourselves back up, and we had to do so in an environment that included a hostile alien invasion by reptoids.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay. The next question, the last question from this person was also for you, Tanaath. In regard to domestication, did you, when you were here 12,000 years ago, did you see the changes coming, and did you personally witness them?
I was here for the fall of Atlantis. I died before the actual fall itself. I guess you could call me a casualty of the preliminary events.
Okay.
In the lifetimes, that was actually what trapped me here. In the lifetimes after that, I don't remember. Domestication is not an overnight thing. Let's put it that way. It is a process. It
took a long time. I mean, they did it gradually, and that's why it actually ended up becoming so effective, was because it was done gradually over time instead of all at once. Had it been done all at once, they never would have been able to achieve it.
Previously, during a talk show with Vince's show, you mentioned about originally people on Earth were having about 900 to 1,000 years of age in a lifespan. Then the reptoids came and messed with our genetics and dumped our lifespan down to our current stage. If the people elect to go to another 3D planet, do you think that their lifespans will be fixed and reverted back to 900 to 1,000 years of age again?
It was 1,000 to 1,500, and yes, that will be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you also speculate that the lifespan of our Earth humans after we go through 4D evolution?
typical 4D lifespan for humans is between about 8,000 and 15,000 years.
Okay, because Tolek had said that it would be about 10,000 years, and I think the Law of One also mentions even longer than 10,000 years. Okay.
Well, it depends on the individual species. Like, there's some who don't go as long, and there's some that go longer. 10,000 is a nice midway point, or part of the way point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another first quartile.
Okay. Another question is that you also mentioned voluntary and involuntary pregnancy. Could you expand on this just a little bit and explain how the mechanism of voluntary pregnancy would work? What exactly did the reptoids change in our genetics to make us become involuntary pregnancy from voluntary pregnancy?
Well, involuntary pregnancy means that you don't have a choice in the matter. You're not consciously controlling the process. And, while you might be able to control aspects of the process, you're not controlling whether ovulation occurs. You're not controlling whether, sperm meets egg and conception occurs. That's happening.
Okay.
The way it is in higher dimensions, it's not a mechanistic act of sperm and egg. It is a conscious, intent-based activity of manifesting children in a partnership together. So it's not the same sort of mechanical act that involves the whole chemistry sort of thing. It is controlled through conscious will.
Okay.
Down here, it was that case. People did have that kind of control over their bodies where they could, voluntarily ovulate. For instance, women could voluntarily choose to ovulate or choose not to ovulate at that given time.
Okay. All right. Based on Law of One material, it is said that Cro-Magnon humanoid on Earth evolved from second-density consciousness humanoid to third-density human beings about 76,000 years ago. And it took about 150 years for these two-dimensional humanoids to grow and develop into 3D humans physiologically. And then this 3D evolved human on Earth possessed about 900 to 1,000 years of lifespan. Did human ancestors on Earth really evolve this way? And then Tolek also mentioned that the ancestors of some of the native Indians did come from other star systems. Could you tell us which race of people were originally Earth evolved and which races of people come from other star systems?
Speaking as a xenoanthropologist, that is as completely inaccurate as one can get when it comes to the time frame and evolution of Terran-based humans.
Okay.
Terran-based human species, different types have been. It's been more of a time frame of several 100,000 years that humans in various forms have walked the planet. The current 3D Terran, as we know it, was created probably about 450 to 500,000 years ago.
Wow.
But they, because of various rises and falls of different societies and stuff around the planet, because you've got, as Native Americans, I believe it's the Hopis that speak of how we have, we're in like the fourth sun or something like that. You've got the various rises and falls, and there are various different experiments, and that's why we have the variety of humans on Terra, and why we have like Cro-Magnons and Neanderthals and stuff, because they were different genetic experiments. And it was this one that actually worked.
Yeah.
Okay, this person says
there was
that
another one about natives. Yes. The ancestors of modern North American natives came from the Taygeta system in the Pleiades cluster, planet Dakota.
Okay.
Solek speaks about this quite readily because he is Dakotan. So he's definitely an expert on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
This person that is writing says, I am Asian of Chinese origin, and we have a saying that Chinese people are the offspring of dragon people. Do we, the Chinese people, have the genetics of the dragon people? And did Oriental or Asian people come from another star system a long time ago, or did we evolve from Earth?
The two predominant human ancestors of Chinese people are the people of Procyon and the people of Andron. Additionally, I know I've spoken at other times about my dragon life and the fall of my planet and the destruction of that planet, and the fact that there were those who, prior to the destruction, fled using universe gates to get into other places. I do know that there was a small group of dragons that managed to make it to Earth, and they did settle in the Far East. So it is possible, since my people are cross-fertile with a great many things, that there are people running around who have actual dragon genetics. Now, I also want to draw people's attention to the fact that a lot of times we are conflated with Hydra or Draco reptilians, and people will say that those are dragon genetics, and they are not. But most human beings on the planet have some reptoid genetics. Again, don't freak out about this. This doesn't make anyone a bad person. It's kind of like, everybody has toenails. I'm not saying toenails come from that, but everybody has a small amount of something in their body that they don't really like, and it doesn't kill you. It's not a game factor. We've all got bacteria in the colons. It doesn't make us evil people. A few percentage points of genes from species we don't like does not make us evil. But yes, it is conceivable that there are Chinese people who have dragon genetics.
Okay. This next person says, I'm just simply curious. I don't know if anyone else has asked this, but although I haven't been one since 2002, for those people who enjoy smoking tobacco, will they still be doing that in a fourth dimension, or is that only a third-dimensional type activity? And what about other of our idiosyncrasies, other of our bad habits, alcohol, pot smoking, drugs, those kinds of things?
Tobacco use and intoxication is not permitted to active duty military personnel. In your own time, in your own quarters, if you're not expected to report to duty, there are people who partake in psychedelic, mood-affecting, and other varieties of substances. Many people in higher dimensions are completely immune to the effects of some of these substances, so there's really no point other than enjoyment of the taste to drink something like wine. You don't see the same sort of abuse and dependency that you see on this planet.
A lot of what people are trying to reach or searching for when they use recreational drugs and narcotics here on the planet is they're trying to achieve mindsets and states of mind that are very easily achievable through meditation in the higher dimensions, and they're searching for that, and they're trying to achieve those altered mind states that are normally achieved by dimensionals through meditation.
Yeah, some forms of psychedelic substances evoke almost like a miniature temporary ascension, and I can understand why people would chase that. Additionally, the species of the Fae are notorious for substance use. Don't ever eat or drink anything a Fae gives you unless you really, really don't mind living with whatever weird consequences result from this.
Yeah, okay. I have a question for Drake, Tanaath, and Sunfire. The people of Earth want to know, who are we really? To be more specific, what species intervened in the genome of the humans of Earth? Is this related to the O, A, B, AB, and RH blood types of human beings and the sudden emergence of agricultural and the latter animal husbandry civilizations of Earth's humans' history?
Okay, I think we've adequately answered this already.
Yeah, pretty
much. We've made it very clear that modern humans are a result of 22 to 25 progenitor human ancestors and a small degree of reptoid genetics and tampering. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the emergence of certain civilizations, especially ones that we can't really explain archaeologically, why this should show up at this particular time in these places but not others, well, many different species have been involved with this planet throughout its history at varying time points.
Next question. When crossing over into 4D and coming upon ETs, can you tell us, please, what are the proper protocols used when addressing them? Here we simply shake hands or say hello or maybe even a hug, which might often be taken offensively to others.
I would suggest, maintaining respectful distance and greeting verbally before and getting to know the individual before you start moving for physical contact. Yeah. In some cultures, shaking hands is seen as aggression.
Okay.
Pretty much most humanoids understand a smile to be friendly. So that is appropriate. A short bow is sometimes appropriate, but again, some species view this as unnecessary groveling. Incline your head to acknowledge their presence, and usually that's understood fairly universally. But get to know the individual or the group or the culture before you start going for the hug. If it was Silver Legion, I'd say go for the hug. We're pretty huggy. But there are others who get a little standoffish and want to get to know you better before they go straight for full contact. For many species, bodily contact brings about a strengthening and psychic connection between people, and you might not want to get that close to someone, and they might not want to get that close to you without knowing each other a little first. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, they're very, very sensitive to thoughts, emotions, and that kind of thing. And I want to say, another piece of advice: don't try in any way to be anything but 100% honest and upfront with them, because if you're trying to hide something, they will know it, and it will put them off.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
I agree. I agree with what Tanaath said, because you just even a friendly hello and keeping a respectable distance until you're invited closer is probably about the best way to do it. If one of them initiates a handshake, sticks their hand out to shake your hand, then of course shake your hand. Shake their hand. Those old manners that people were taught back around the turn of the last century, the early 1900s into the 40s and 50s. Those are really good basis protocols to go from. And for those that are familiar with the military standards, again, a good place. The manners that are taught in finishing schools, in military. By your grandmother. Those are really good bases to start from.
Okay, is our planet safe for benevolent ET groups to land here to make themselves known to us?
The planet is safe. The people maybe not so much, particularly the Cabal.
Yeah, and right now it's not physically possible, but it was kind of funny. I was told by somebody that the powers that were are saying that if one of the Liberation Forces ships decloaked, they'd consider it an act of war. I replied back, I'd like to see them try and actually do anything about that.
Are all cigar-shaped UFOs that some people have seen from the reptilian group of ETs, or are any of them craft from benevolent groups?
They're all from reptoid, Cabal, or Gray, non-benevolent groups.
Okay, all the cigar-shaped ones. Okay.
Yeah, all the cigar-shaped ones.
Okay, I would be interested to hear Tanaath's perspective on some health matters, particularly are common vaccinations, cancer treatments, and visual problems?
Well, first of all, I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. Now, second, I would recommend that, barring woeful genetic mutations, such as in my own case, I was born with nearsightedness and I have celiac. You could do a lot to support good health of all organs in the entire body by eating the right food, and that does not include, or that isn't restricted to plant food only. However, what you're going to want to watch is the sugar content. Anything that raises your blood sugar is going to cause problems, whether it's natural, whether it's, whether they slap a pretty label on it and call it nectar, or whether it's super processed and comes from corn transformations. Doesn't matter if it raises your blood sugar or it contains fructose, it can do damage in large amounts and you want to avoid it. Many visual problems are caused by interactions caused by too high blood sugar. You're going to want to eat a diet that includes lots of fresh greens, vegetables and green leafy things, fruits that are low in fructose and sugar content, meats that have fat. You've been lied to outright. Saturated fat and cholesterol are health protective. They will not harm you. If you have a cholesterol problem, this is your body's response to too much sugar. It packages up that sugar after it's been transformed into triglycerides, fatty acids, and then packages them around in cholesterol and parades them around in your bloodstream where they start doing damage. It is not the cholesterol that is harming you. It is the triglycerides that are harming you, and it is the consequences of glycation or sugaring that is harming you. If you maintain a good diet with lots of vegetables, an adequate supply of natural fats, and try to eat as paleo as you can, it is health supportive and will reverse a lot of illnesses that result from lifestyle, quote unquote, or environment, quote unquote. It may help support even things that you might otherwise be prone to genetically or because of exposure. Cancer, all cancers, regardless of their cause, have something called the Warburg effect. The Warburg effect means that they feed on sugar. If you provide an environment that is oxygen-rich and low in sugar, it discourages the growth of cancer, even if cancers form. So it can slow it down so it can be treated through other means or even eliminate it outright.
Okay. Oh my goodness, I just can't believe the questions and how fast they're coming in. Once we reach 4D, will we all be able to travel to other star systems like, say, Sirius A? I would love to visit the stars, especially the ones that I feel connected to, and I'm sure many others would love to do so as well.
You'll have ample opportunity to travel and explore. Anybody who has that desire will be having a chance to exercise it. And Sirius A is a peaceful system, so I'm sure they'll be accepting visitors. They have some incarnates on this planet. So, those will be want to be reunited with their family at some point, I'm sure.
Okay, it's not funny, but it puts a smile on my face when some of the questions come through. What will it be like the morning after we go into 4D? Will we know that it happened? I think people are envisioning that it's going to be like the Wizard of Oz, like they're going to wake up and open the door and it's a whole new world.
That is something that's probably better asked of Tulik.
Yeah, I agree.
He's an expert in that. And when it comes to things like what does ascension feel like, what will it look like the next day, how exactly does it happen, I signed up for the mystery. I know it's going to happen. I don't know when. I don't know exactly what it'll feel like or look like or be. That's part of one of the benefits that I was going to do, that I was in this for, in addition to helping, I was going to get to see this for myself and see what it was like. So I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know I don't know what the experience is going to be like either. I'm fifth dimensional incarnate, so, and every other past life I've had has been like above that, so I don't know either. It's, it's going to be a great mystery for me too.
Okay, here's another commonly asked question. Will I be able to take things that I want to with me, such as my guitar and my dog, into fourth dimension? If not, there will seriously be trouble. Seriously.
Your dog's coming. Your pets are coming. Your beloved animals are coming. As near as I can understand or comprehend, those things which you put energy into through your love, those persist.
Yeah.
So if you really love that guitar, it's coming with you.
Okay, good.
And also, you'll have the opportunity to explore a lot of new instruments that aren't known here on planet after the transition. For those of you that are musicians and into music, there's a whole universe of new things that you guys will be able to explore and experience in that.
Music and musicians are highly valued in the higher dimensions. And
that's
for those
another
of you
question
who,
that people,
like me, have lost pets, you'll see them again.
Oh, wonderful!
I know my Mo dog is waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that was another question. People are going to change physically somewhat. We're being prepared for. Will animals and stuff? Will there be other breeds and other species of animals that we will be enjoying or getting to know?
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely. A lot of what is touted as mythological creatures or mythological animals exist in the higher dimensions, like Unipeg, Pegasus, unicorns, dragons, obviously, the centaurs, and just anything you could imagine. And just take that imagination, run with it, research mythology, and then figure there's probably about a billion more. One of the things that stands out there is infinite
possibility.
Yeah, and infinite diversity.
Yeah, if you can imagine it exists.
Okay, here's another one. I saw a video that says that we are going from 3D to 5D and then from 5D to 8D. Is that correct?
Nope. You don't get to skip grades.
Yeah.
You go 1 to 1 to 1, right?
Yeah, really, there's nothing wrong with going to 4D. It's not a race. It's not a contest. I've known people who've started up higher and worked their way down and stayed in the fifth dimension, for instance, for billions of years because they like it. It's not a contest, People have done the same thing for the fourth. It's not a race. It's not a contest. You don't get to skip grades. We're going to the fourth.
Right.
This is
well, this person basically said the same thing. They said they had heard that, and they said, I heard that we were going to remain in 4D for a long time and then slowly progress through each of the succeeding dimensions, 3D to 5D and 5D to 8D. Because that didn't make any sense. If that were the case, then why would there even be other dimensions that we would skip?
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. The point is not to race yourself into oblivion here.
Right.
And I think possibly what that may be trying to imply is that you've got the dimensions basically sit in three. You've got 1, 2, and 3 together, and then 4, 5, and 6D together, and then 7, 8, and 9D together, and then 10, 11, and 12 together, and then you've reached the universal cap for this specific universe. But the dimensions are infinite.
Yeah, they occur in triads typically.
Yeah.
Okay. I know time is just an Earth thing. Do your space friends have some kind of a clock out in the universe, or do they just live in the now?
Well, there are objective timekeeping devices, and they do, there is the movement of stellar bodies and interstellar bodies and things like that progresses at a predictable, noticeable rate. But you can put it this way. Here, if my brother is working on something, if he's not looking at the clock, it doesn't matter. If he looks over, as far as he's perceiving it, no time may have passed, but the clock hand may have moved a lot. Or maybe he feels like he's been working for a long, long time, and the clock hand has only moved 5 minutes. The difference between perception of time and linear passage of time are completely different things there.
They pretty much, they pretty much live and exist in the moment for the most part.
Okay. When we dream, is there a difference between dreams that reflect issues in our waking lives, versus dreams that may actually involve travel to other dimensions? And is there a way for us to know the difference?
Yeah, they feel different. I don't really know how to define that other than a feel. But if you've had both kinds, you'll notice they have distinct feelings. The ones that are just the rehashing of your subconscious trying to get something through to you or mull something over, they don't feel as real. The ones that are real feel real. And you get the strong impression that this happened when you wake up.
What is up with Yellowstone? I'm hearing that it's supposed to blow soon, as are some other things. Does someone have a handle on what on that we know of?
Absolutely. It might fizzle some, and that'd be about it.
Okay.
Keep in mind, we are going through completely natural Earth changes. And those do involve lava.
Yeah. Lava, earthquakes,
magma.
all of that.
Sometimes even some things like andesite.
What you got to remember in this, what everybody needs to remember in this is that everybody's been touting the end of the world and all this. That ain't the case. There's been several quakes that people said, ooh, that's a 6-point-something or 8-point-something, and look at them. There's a bunch of them. There's 3 things you need to know about earthquakes. They follow fault lines. You may not know that it's there, but they follow fault lines generally. It's a slippage. Number 2, these things can be predicted. I already offered a certain seismologist in California who is the head of a research team the secrets to determining not only the earthquake timing to within 15, 20 minutes, but its severity, its depth, and a few other things about it. Number 3, understand that there are technologies that people on the planet here refuse to admit exist. First of all, we're familiar with that from the government, and that are of a nature that are so complex, intricate, and interesting that it's doubtful. Now, you got to remember, it's written in Fey or some other language that is not easily translatable, and there could be a lot lost in translation. And so most of that is kept to ET. And the extraterrestrials are our brothers and sisters. I would call them extra-terrans, personally, but everybody to their own handle. The situation is simple. Forget the tsunami of 2012. Forget the fact that the bombardment of Earth's core is going to be such that it will heat the surface of the planet and cause it to go fluid, and everything's going to dance around and thump you on the head. That is not the case. It ain't happening that way. That's horse hockey. Now, what people also have to understand, and this is something that really is important in all of this, the things you have been seeing from Hollywood in general, the movies, this and that and whatever, are pretty much bogus. And by that I mean pretty much bogus. There's a few things that are semi-accurate and only very minorly that I've found, and I've seen most of these movies. I watch them for two reasons. The cabal owns Hollywood, and I want to know what the enemy's up to. Number two, I want to know how to defeat them. Therefore, we have a show like this where you get people on who knows what's going on and can express it in everyday, plain old everyday, talking to me English, and people can get the ticket and ride. Go ahead, guys.
Exactly. Okay, this next question is for Sunfire. Recently on YouTube, it has come out that there are many, many huge crafts that are circling the sun at all times. Could you please tell us, referring to the one huge planet-like ship that is nuzzled right up to the lower left of the sun and extended a whirlwind-like feeler up into the sun itself for several hours and then withdrew it from the sun again, could you please explain what that planet-like ship was doing to the sun? I'm sure you know that this clip has been on YouTube. The planet then moved away again afterwards into the dark of space.
Wasn't that the Sarstra? Or Sarstra?
That was actually Mornay's biosphere. The Mornay, the Zenithate that communicates with Alex Collier. There's probably, a couple, I want to say probably about 25 to 50 different biospheres, which is what we call them, in the solar system. And what that one was doing is part of assisting the sun with the transition. They're converting it from a yellow-white star to a blue-white star. So,
they're not converting it. It's converting itself, but
it's
they're
converting
helping
itself,
with
but they're helping it, yeah. And they're also in the process of helping to do what they can to stabilize the sun. And the bad guys like to try to mess with the sun, and so the good guys, like that biosphere, will go in and correct things like that to, fix whatever the bad guys try to do.
Yeah, the Sarstra is also not shy of showing itself by the sun.
This next question
is show me these ships. You can see them if you get the right opportunity and don't automatically dismiss it.
Also, that's what people are seeing when they see the ships, the big round ships, like, off of Antarctica or off of Arctica, off the Arctic, or the bigger ones that they assume or try to say is Nibiru. It's not Nibiru. It's one of the biospheres.
Yeah, there is no Nibiru in the system. Most of those large planet-shaped things are biospheres.
And they're all benevolent or positive ET groups.
Okay. The next question is for all three of you.
We're here to help it.
Okay, to all three of you. Once we die in 3D and either reincarnate or go into 4D from 3D, you would know who we are even from birth, correct? I remember the whole memory wiping being employed by the negatives. Is that right?
Ideally, you would recover your memories. It might not be an all-at-once thing. And, depending on how long you've existed for, there might be things you don't remember, maybe because you haven't chosen to, and then when the time is correct for you, you'll remember that again. But in the case of Earth, what was done was hostile, and it was deliberate, and it was in order to control the population. It's easy to say reincarnation doesn't exist to people when they can't remember anything past the current life.
Okay. You have mentioned that our pets we will be rejoined with our pets. Obviously, I would assume that means that we will be rejoined with our loved ones and family that have passed before.
Yes, provided they have not already gone on to another life, in which case you'll still encounter them, but they will say, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. I was your this relative or this friend.
Are we likely
you'll
to still have
encounter
the
people.
Yeah, are we likely to still have the same parents, etc.?
The thing about family through multiple lives is they still remain your family, even in other lives. I have brothers from when I myself was Tausetian. They're not my brothers anymore in terms of my DNA or in terms of anything like that, but because of those family relations, I still consider them my brothers. I have my dragon brother, who's been with me since the dawn of my time, and I still consider him my brother, even though we're not genetically related. And I've had many lives in which he was not a family member with me. You know, those family relations, they stay.
Yeah, they do. My one brother that I have, he's been my brother since the beginning of our existence. I've always been his little sister. He's always been my big brother. But then, you know, I have a twin brother in this life and have dimensionally not incarnate lives. And prior to him coming through as a twin, he's always been like my best friend. And so, I mean, technically we're not brother and sister just in this life. So it changes, but you tend to stay with the same group of people or the same group of beings like over and over and over and over and over again throughout your entire existence.
That's what they talk about when they say soul family. It's the people you hang around with routinely.
Yeah.
I always wondered what happened to the Mayan civilization. It's like they just disappeared, but now I'm thinking they may have ascended too. Do you have any ideas on that?
The Spanish.
Yeah, a lot of them were slaughtered by the Spanish. There were a lot of them that also went underground, and then groups of them were removed by the Procyon, I believe, and taken to a different planet because they're part of their, genetic population or genetic offspring, if you want to call it that. And here's where it kind of goes back to what I was saying about there being people or races or humans existing on this planet upwards to 400, 500,000 years ago. The Mayans existed way back then, and most of the population of the Mayans were way back then. There were some smaller groups of them that were more, that were here about 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. Because one thing you've got to consider with a lot of the historical sites is you've got to add probably between 10 and 100,000 years to anything that Western mainstream time people put on a specific site to get a more accurate age for any of the cities and that kind of thing.
Okay. This next question is prefaced with a comment. Because most people are reacting basically with fear of the unknown. Is it true that the planet, when we go into the next dimension, rather than the way people are thinking negatively about how, oh my gosh, everything's going to blow up and my computer's going to melt and I'm going to be standing in my underwear or my underwear will disappear or whatever. Isn't it more likely that our planet, much of what we are accustomed to and what is tangibly worth saving and everything is going to remain, and the planet will be largely enhanced, like maybe like the lost city of Atlantis will reappear, and but the Great Pyramids will stay, and those kinds of things.
Well, I'm not too sure on Atlantis and the pyramids, but yeah, that which is beneficial, I'm sure will probably either stay or have a chance to be recreated in some manner.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of the. I was told recently there's going to be a lot of the ancient historic sites, like for example the pyramids that are being destroyed by systematically by bulldozers in South America, those are going to be rebuilt. A lot of the ancient megalithic sites are going to be rebuilt and restored. I think a lot of what people unwittingly mean when they say that Atlantis is going to return or rise again or something like that is that it's going to be brought out of the nobody talks about it file, and it's going to maybe even become a dive site, because the continent itself stretches from France to slightly south of the United States, and kind of in underneath Florida.
Okay.
And
all right.
So I think that's probably what people are talking about when, Atlantis is going to rise again. Of course, it's going to be brought out into public knowledge.
But as we ascend, will people, if they want to remain in a bonded relationship, husband and wife, as they ascend, will they be able to choose to stay together?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Relationships and marriages can exist up there too.
Yeah, I've been with the same guy for almost my entire existence. There's relationships that last for all of your existence.
Okay. This is a question to all three of you. They want an answer individually. Can you feel our energy?
I can.
Okay, let's start.
Sometimes,
okay.
If I'm speaking to a person via voice or via text, I can pick up on the energy of that individual.
I can, especially speaking to somebody over voice, or if I'm in their presence, I can definitely feel their energy.
Me too.
Okay, and Drake?
Me too.
What'd you say, Drake? Oh, you too?
I said me too.
Okay. 4 years ago, I made a bet with a friend of mine that there would be worldwide recognition of the ETs until the middle of this summer. Who loses must buy a barrel of beer. Do you think that I'm still winning in this?
Yeah.
I would not put money on a timeline ever.
Yeah.
Or anything I particularly cared about. If you do win, though, likely it won't matter to collect on it because finances may be changing. Who knows?
And what I was going to suggest is that you both buy a barrel of beer and, keep it in a nice cold storage until the Silver Legion shows up. Then you'll really enjoy the fun.
If we can provide the beer. Even beer that I can drink.
What about beer in 4D? Are we still going to eat and drink as we do here, or are we going to become breatharians? And thank you
if
for...
If you really wish to be a breatharian, you can be a breatharian. Most of us find it damn boring. There is a lot to be said for eating food. It is possible to eat food that doesn't involve harming other organisms. Replicators make that possible. So there's no requirement to be vegetarian or vegan or breatharian or, water only or light only. All beings, when they are young, require a certain degree of input of energy from some source in order to be nursed into full strength and to grow up. So babies all have to eat. Children have to eat. Adults technically don't have to eat unless they are doing something that expends more energy than they can kind of pull in naturally from sleeping and breathing and being in ambient energy sources. So if you're getting your butt kicked and you need to heal from that, you're going to want to eat. If you're going out and expending a vast quantity of energy, you're either going to need to eat or sleep or somehow replenish that stock, unless you're willing to wait a long time while being kind of blah. And many of us eat simply for the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
My dragon species, we eat rock. We don't even have a sense of taste. Let me tell you, one of the wonderful things about being human is being able to taste your food. It's good. We enjoy this.
Absolutely.
I like chocolate.
Yeah, and there's countless, endless varieties of foods and types and everything else. And I think probably one of the most interesting experiences, not only for me, but for that I've heard for Tolik and even for Tanaath, is introducing Terran food to our friends and crewmates and everybody upstairs, because a lot of what we have down here, well, the fruits and vegetables and that kind of thing have been influenced and introduced via the various ET races. They never until just recently experienced things like pizza, ice cream, popcorn.
Popcorn is a real favorite of my brother's.
Yeah.
They go absolutely ape over it. And my Admiral is absolutely crazy about blueberries, believe it or not. And I've never met an Androni who does not like peanut butter.
Pumpkin pie, too.
Pumpkin pie, okay.
My brother, for example, he got introduced to Starbucks, and he is literally the only Chalcedian in the entire race that likes chocolate.
Yeah, they don't like chocolate.
He goes crazy over chocolate, and the rest of us are just like, ew, are you, what, chocolate?
I remember the first time I asked one of them if they liked chocolate, and they were like, no, and I said, what? We don't like chocolate. Are you kidding? No.
And, oh my God, introducing ice cream to them.
They like ice cream.
And milkshakes.
Milkshakes, yeah. Nice cold things. Okay, next question. Go ahead.
I was gonna suggest that Tanaath tell, just because of the instance of how funny it was, about her experience with her one brother and the Applewood smoked bacon.
Oh my God, crazy about bacon. I have never seen anyone go so crazy over bacon in my life. I mean, bacon is pretty good, but he'd be attempting to beat it off my plate. He liked it that much.
She had to literally on a
I had
regular
to make him
basis.
stick to the ground.
Yes.
Or tackle him down, because if I let him near the pan before I got there would be none for me.
Oh my.
And taking him grocery shopping is a lot of fun too.
Yeah, he spirit projects down, which is fortunate, because if he was down here physically, we'd get kicked out, because he's got to take a bite out of everything he encounters.
Ouch.
Okay, here's.
Well, fortunately, when he's spirit projecting, he's taking a spirit bite, so it doesn't show up on the actual food. Although, if you're sensitive to energy, if you eat something that somebody has already eaten, it tastes weird.
And I mean, I think probably one of my most memorable experiences in dealing with food and dealing with the dimensionals is my brother and his propensity to literally physically steal food from me. One of the times, for an example, I waited until I love pomegranates. I waited like the entire time they were out of season to go to the grocery store and get pomegranates. I was so proud of myself. I came home with 3 of them. I went into another room and came back. There was one missing. And I heard the giggling from my brother, and I knew he had taken it.
We lost a cucumber to mysterious circumstances here the other day, and I'm wondering if maybe that was the case.
Okay, are you ready for some more?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. This next person says, from what I understand, wouldn't Earth vibrate at a higher level than is friendly to the reptilian race?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But, you have to understand that reptoids exist at least into 6D, and there's been discovered that they exist in higher dimensions than that.
Yeah, but they're not necessarily Draco or Hydra at that point. They're another group. We will be transitioning 4D positive, which means our frequency of energy is tuned positive, which means that 4D negative reptilians are going to find it very uncomfortable. It's kind of like, sitting down in a patch of burrs when your butt's naked.
Ouch.
Okay, this next one is for Drake. Okay, Drake for comment. Drake for comment. Okay, for Drake. I usually have UFO sightings, and that is because I ask them to show up. They look like colored diamonds from red, blue, green, and orange. I asked them to give me a sighting if you were for real, Drake, and they showed up in an instant. This is why I keep following you. I haven't even asked them to follow me home, and they have followed me. When me and my mom got out of the car, we can see it passing over us, and then they take off. I know that they can hear me and that they interact. One day I asked them to show up for my mom at a certain time when she got out of work. When my mom parked outside, I looked up in the sky and I told them, "Where are you?" And right then, two giant crystal-like looking light UFOs showed up, and my mom was shocked. She was really taken aback. She now believes that they are real, and I can interact with them. Now when I go outside sometimes, they are there, and it is funny that the first spot I look in the sky, they are there, as if they can read my mind where I'm looking. Can you comment on this, Drake? Do you think it's for real?
I would say it probably is. What you have to understand is one thing, and that is that ET, brothers and sisters, however you want to look at that part, you got to remember that they do have a sense of humor. And there are very few things that they will ignore in the process of exercising that sense of humor. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. This next one is, do I understand correctly that someone will come and talk with us about if we want to go to 4D before that time will come? Or will everyone just instinctively know that this is going to happen or will it be like an announcement?
I'm not exactly sure on the modality. I just know that everybody will have a conscious choice.
Yeah, Tolik talks about the Andromeda Council is, according to him, going to be coming down and basically holding town halls in various places and doing the outreach, and then various groups from 4 different planets are going to be landing and just walking around and meeting people, and that they'll be informed that way. The Federation has our own plans, but we're more focused on the humanitarian relief, where we're happy to let the Andromeda Council handle the civilian aspect of it.
Yeah, we're definitely not against or opposing them. In fact, we think it's a great idea. We're also going to be doing our own efforts.
Yeah.
Okay. I recently saw a most compelling video about Project Serpo, SERPO. Do these EBENS, EBENS, as we call them, and have a police-type planetary system much like that which is being actively developed here present a threat to us? Have they a membership in the Galactic Federation of Planets? And, if I may, we have a lot of damaged vehicles down here. How can we teach better?
As far as the EBENS that are in connection to Project Serpo, no, they're not a member of the Galactic Federation of Planets. We don't have any of the gray races that are part of our membership. They're active enemies of us, actually. So obviously they wouldn't be in our membership roster.
Okay. All right.
As far as the damaged vehicles, well, there's going to be a lot of healing and that kind of stuff done and available to the population.
Both mental and physical.
Yeah, and emotional and spiritual and basically the whole 9 yards.
And it's not going to be a matter of teaching you the one true way, because there is none. It's going to be a matter of empowering you with the tools to find your own way.
Okay. All right. This question is for both Tanaath and Sunfire. For some of us who are facing extreme conditions such as hunger, stressful lawsuits, imprisonment, can the Federation or the Silver Legion beam us up to the biosphere?
Not as of yet. Like I said, when it becomes possible, humanitarian relief is intended, and some of that relief is going to be aimed at people who are in sensitive circumstances. But as of this moment, it is currently not physically possible to do so.
Okay. All right. Who are the sphere-shaped ships? They look like Borg ships, but they are shaped like spheres, or spheres. Excuse me.
I think I kind of answered this before. There are various, biospheres that are part of the liberation forces. They're all positive, and they're here to help us. And the sphere-shaped, biosphere, planet-shaped, ship shape is more of a permanent, long-term shape that is chosen. Excuse me. Instead of, where you have the more fancier-looking stations like you would see on Star Trek, Andromeda series, that kind of thing, for various reasons. And
spheres are great. They have wonderful structural integrity.
And they're a lot easier to keep heated versus, something a little more ornate-looking.
If you're talking about small spheres viewed in the atmosphere, most of these are drones.
Yeah.
If you're talking about large spheres like planets viewed outside the atmosphere, those are biospheres.
We have this fourfold huge change culminating. One, the money system failure, hopefully signaling the last gasp of archontic control over us, and switch over to reasonableness a la Neil Keenan and others. 2, the meeting of our star families, decision time. 3, the physical expansion of Terra/pole shift, angle correction a la complete movement of Terra into 4D space. And then 4, our own expansion event when our bodies become 4D, translucent, taller, lighter. My question is that the order in which these events will occur is not a certain thing. How much of a possibility is it that we will go through the bulk of it on our own without the benefit of having that reassuring talk with EDs prior to the event?
Unknown.
Yeah, it's unknown. It's not something that we can predict at this time.
Question number 2. Tanaath spoke of the Dow subterranean baddies. The DOW, spoke of the Dow subterranean baddies. Will they be not with us in 4D as well as any other Terra-based physical beings that have malintentions?
Okay. If you're talking about, I think this is a conflation of different ideas. The Drow are not found on this planet. You're not going to have to worry about the Drow.
I think they're talking about the Greys.
If they're talking about the Greys there, if they're talking about like the Telosians and things like that, and the Agartans and whatever, however you say that, most of them are already higher dimensional. So, the planet's going to transition. They're pretty much going to stay the same. The human societies that are subterranean may have communication and cultural exchange with us. That depends largely on them. The ones who are hostile invaders hiding out under the crust, they're probably going to suffer the same sort of sitting in the burrs that I was discussing earlier.
The majority of the Telosians, the Agarthans, that kind of thing, they were removed at the request of Gaia a few months ago and aren't even any longer on the planet.
Okay, question number 3. The people of the planets of, forgive me if I slaughter the pronunciations, Is it Vela and Praya, Vela and Prya, have not yet been described by anyone. Tolek has described many of the others, such as the Dakota, the Rital or Rital, etc. Is it at all possible that either of you could describe briefly the people of Vela and Pyra?
I'm not familiar with them, so no, I can't.
Yeah, me either.
If someone dies now, what happens to their soul as the evil has been lifted and no more souls are trapped on Earth anymore? Where do they go?
Well, not having experienced this myself, I would say from the anecdotes of those who speak with the Silver Legion on that side is, they end up loose and have random thoughts and then find their families. Usually there's somebody there to receive them. They basically end up in the fourth dimension where they get to decide what they do next.
Oh, okay.
Whether they stay there and wait,
Makes
or whether
sense.
they go back, or what.
All right. This is from our chat room. Much of the folk that proclaim UFOs and liberation information to be fake, I've seen say it's fake because they haven't saved us yet. I'm on the opinion that the off-world groups are taking care of the off-world threats because Terrans cannot fight them off themselves. Is that true?
Yeah, we take care of the stuff that you guys can't, that it isn't really necessarily fair to make you face. We can't solve your problems for you.
Yeah.
We can help give you tools to help find ways to solve your problems, but we can't solve your problems for you. When it comes to off-world threats, you're not really adequately prepared to deal with those. Off-worlders can take care of off-worlders. As for claiming something is fake because it has not happened yet, if you walk out at low tide and sit there for 5 minutes and declare because you haven't noticed a movement that the tide does not occur, it does not mean that the tide is fake.
All right, let's continue. Are there any more soul traps on Earth, and how far does the soul trap reach into the atmosphere?
To the best of my knowledge, we got them all. If we find any more, we'll destroy them.
Yeah.
As for how far, I do know that, part of the reason why space travel, even just, out of the orbit, or into orbit, was so restricted and so highly, highly monitored is because, they needed to be sure to catch anyone who died up there.
Okay, here's a comment basically from a person with a quick question. I feel that I have much power in order to help the powers of light, but why do I feel like a dog who's chained to the post right now?
I can't explain your feelings. You're the one who experiences them. You're the one who has them.
Okay. All right.
I think.
What was that?
I was going to say, I think basically what the person is trying to ask is why they feel so restricted and like they want to do something, but they feel like they're being held back. That's, we can't explain other people's feelings, but I mean, if they want to do something, go to the silverlegion.org website and, you guys can find out there how to join Silver Legion. And you can do something.
Or you can follow your inner guidance and see what that says. You might not be called into combat. You might not be a person who finds that appealing, but maybe you really, really, say, for instance, have something to teach in your neighborhood about how to grow things. I can't keep a plant alive to save my life. If I was reduced to feeding myself simply by what I could grow, I'd starve to death. Now, if I could bring in animal husbandry, I'd be fine. But, everybody has skills, everybody has talents, everybody has things they're good at, everybody has passions. Follow those.
Okay. This next question I'm going to direct to Drake, and feel free to comment, either of the other two of you. I've been hearing some strange information lately about gender changing in higher dimensions, or rather the idea that, say, a male could give himself physical aspects that a female would have, and vice versa. Is this common, and would it fall under shape-shifting?
It depends on whether or not it would be permanent. I do not know how common that is. Hopefully one of the girls has got a better answer.
I don't know how common it is. If you've had more than one life and you've been the other gender, you can change your body to be according to those other lifetimes. If you are a natural shapeshifter and that shapeshiftability includes gender shifting, which it doesn't always, you'll be able to do that. If you feel that you were born into the wrong gender as a 3D physical person, and this does happen, it's I wouldn't say super common, but between 1% and 3% of the population have this happening, and it is not a matter of mental illness or being crazy or being wrong, nor is it a matter of sexual orientation. If you are a transgendered individual, you will have the ability to become the gender that you prefer or the sex you prefer without mutilation or surgery or somebody demanding $20,000 or somebody saying you can't use that bathroom or this bathroom or you must dress or act this way. It will be there. It will be available for you without judgment, without denigration, without everybody saying that you're abnormal or sick or wrong. It's not a judgment. It's not a value-laden thing there.
And then there are races up in the higher dimensions that have more than just the male and female sexes. There's ones that have 3 to 4 to 5 different sexes, and there's some of them that kind of falter somewhere in between. So, I mean, it maybe that's where the question is coming from. I don't know, but I do know that those exist, and I do know that there's sometimes that they'll play around with stuff like that, and they'll use holographic or illusion.
Yeah, and there's species that have multiple genders, more than 2.
Yeah.
And there's some species that have neutral genders as well that aren't involved in reproduction.
Okay, this next question is it true that our solar system is heading towards and rejoining the Orion Constellation?
No.
No. Okay.
A constellation is just a grouping of stars by visible appearance. Some of them may be hundreds of light years apart from each other and not actually proximate to each other at all. And
it depends also on, at what position a star or planet is viewed from. From the perspective of several other star systems, we would look like we're in the Pleiades cluster, and we're not. It just depends on the perspective.
Now, when talking about observer status, there is no privileged observer status. From our position as observers, the constellations appear in certain positions. From other places in the galaxy, they appear to be different. It's not a static thing. It's not. I don't know if static is the word I'm looking for. They also change over time. They drift, but it's an arbitrarily defined thing that's based on the perspective at a given position of observation. They're not natural constructs. They're just there. They appear to be close. They're maybe not actually close at all.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Is the large planetoid object spotted at the South Pole a craft ship? And if yes, whose?
We answered this. This is a biosphere.
Yeah.
It is a biosphere.
Yeah, there's the 2 ships at either pole are Arcturians. They're stabilizing the poles to keep the planet from flipping over on itself. Too fast.
Okay.
Too fast.
Will music be changing much, and is there a form of rock and roll in 4 dimensions?
My Tausetian brother, the one who absolutely goes crazy about bacon, loves classic rock and roll. And oddly enough, the Rankin family, don't ask. There is an appreciation for music.
Okay.
I think music in the higher dimensions is a lot more expansive because, I mean, for example, Morene, the Zenite, he goes and in his spare time records the various sounds of the planet that they make naturally and then combines them with instrumentation and makes these beautiful albums.
Music of the spheres, indeed.
Yeah, it's incredible music. So I think for those those that are interested in the creative pursuits like art and theater and music and dancing and that kind of thing, it's very expansive and there's a lot of support and encouragement for creative pursuits.
If you want to see the Admiral of the Androni fleet make a face, play bagpipes.
Okay, next question is, what is your opinion on radionics machines, and will radionics or tuning forks and vibrational healing, Reiki, and other healing methods all be redundant after a shift to 4D?
No, actually, energetic and chi or ki healing is basically par for the course. And machines that use, I guess, what you would term down here to be radionics or orgone or things like that. That's the normal thing up there.
Yeah, including like color, sound, light. They use, color. They use sound. They use light. They use vibrations. They use anything that you would be termed like an alternative healing method. That, for those that really want to stay with the medical industry and the healing modalities, that's where you want to go because that's what, like Tanaath said, that's what is very common up there and still used even in, like the Tausetians, for example, that are like, we're like about 1.2 billion years advanced of Terrans, and that's the stuff that we use.
Yeah, watch Star Trek. That little thing they spray, or the yellow card that they spray, or not the yellow card, the magic stuff they spray on soccer players. We got stuff that actually works.
Yeah.
Part of this next question is missing, but I'm hoping we can figure out what the question was. I understand that we are energy beings having a human experience and are aware of energy work. I am currently using HemiSync to have out-of-body experiences, slow progress. If I wanted to come into contact with the Silver Legion, and that's where it stops, I think what they want to know is if they want to come into contact with the Silver Legion, how do they go about doing so?
Intent. I've said this many, many times. It's a matter of intent, maintaining focus and intent long enough to find yourself there.
Okay, and is HemiSync, whatever he or she is using, is that?
Whichever modality works for you. Binaural beats, HemiSync, those work for some people. As long as it doesn't become a crutch, you're fine with it.
Okay. All right. I think we figured out what the question might have been. Okay. A quick question: Are there ALs? What is that? Or maybe it's AIs or computers that are actually machines with a soul attached to it? I've heard of that before, and that they are used to be more flexible than a programmed AI or AI.
Okay, so yes,
AI
there are. There are some that are very limited and not technically sentient, and then there are those that are sentient and self-aware. Those that are sentient and self-aware are accorded personhood and not used. They're given the option to choose. They have free will like everyone else.
Okay.
The ones that are non-sentient are used for various purposes.
Okay. I'm a little confused. Will I lose my spouse when I regain my memories of past lives?
Not unless you and your spouse mutually decide that you no longer wish to be associated with each other.
Okay. All right. I guess you'd be rejoined with whichever of your previous spouses you choose to be with. Right?
Well, what matters is the life you're in. If you guys wish to restart relationships that existed in the past, that is your prerogative, but it is not required. And in general, people understand this. And if you say, no, not right now, I've got something else, they deal with it. It's
or
not
if
like
you want to have both, you can have both.
There's no requirement for monogamy. It's a matter of, it's something that is, it's negotiated on a personal basis with those who are involved. It is not legislated. It is not dictated by society. It is something between the individuals involved.
This is a silly one. Do we need the moon, and can it be removed?
The moon's an artificial satellite, and what's going to happen to it really, really depends on whether or not it's necessary to remove it. A lot of us are fond of it. I mean, it might have been put there by bad guys. It might have been used for bad things, but we kind of like it, and anyone who fishes knows that the moon has influences tides, which influences the fish, and removing the moon is going to have a great deal of impact on anything that lives in tides and uses tides, for instance, to decide on when it's time to get dinner.
They can also, removing the moon would also have negative effects on the weather. They're used, one of the things that moons are used for, or satellites are used for, is to affect the rotational speed of a planet, and when you affect that, you affect you affect everything else. Yeah.
So what happens with the moon is really going to depend on circumstances.
I'm sure we could remove that moon, but then we'd probably put a different one in its place.
Yeah, we'd need something to fulfill the gravitic requirement.
Oh, there we go. If I wanted to come in contact with the Silver Legion, is there somewhere I should be directing my OBE sessions, and how will I know that I'm in the right place?
Well, you can direct them to the Silver Legion outpost in the astral plane. Now, a word about the appearance of the outpost. The outpost, because it's in the third level of the astral plane, if there's no conscious minds maintaining it, it vanishes. We've got squads assigned to it or small groups assigned to it. Whoever is assigned to it gets to choose what it looks like. Sometimes it looks like a space station. Sometimes it looks like a ski chalet. Sometimes it looks like a pagoda by a lake. It's whatever the fancy of the people manning the station at the time think. So I couldn't tell you what it looks like at any given moment because it changes. But yeah, intend to go there and you'll be met. Do your 3 times test when you meet somebody, verify, are you Silver Legion? Ask to see the insignia. We usually, humanoids and beings that have arms usually wear an armband on their left arm, halfway between the elbow and the shoulder, with a silver dragon in a circle. I'm no artist, or I'd draw it. It looks like a 2-winged silver dragon with 2 tails wrapping around, and you can ask for the division and they'll name it. The list of divisions are on the website. And, if something feels awry or feels fishy, because we do have imposters and things trying to pull the wool over your eyes, get the heck out of there. Try again another night.
Are you ladies in agreement with Drake that the Great Reset is coming in the very near future? And if so,
do you mean about finances? What do you mean by the Great Reset?
Well, Drake is okay. It's a long question. It says Drake has been telling us about the plan, and that everything's going to come down in very soon. Do you agree with Drake? And if so, are are you? That it says, are you also going to give us 2 weeks real soon? Blah 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 blah. And when you said that you're not going to give any times again either. But they just want to know if you're in agreement
like that,
with
we don't have any chance. We don't have any knowledge of the timeline. We fully support Drake in his work.
Yeah.
From our observation, he is very legitimate. Trust me, when we started working with the guy, we investigated him, and what we found didn't scare us away. Clearly.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
The Federation fully supports Drake, and we're aligned with him because we chose him. We chose to align with him because we know that he's a good person and he's legitimate, and he's as honest as he can be, as honest as they come. We love Drake.
Oh, shucks, huh, Drake? Okay. I have a question regarding our DNA changing. I read that there are indigo kids and other children that are resistant to disease. This article also said that the resistance to disease was spreading to others. Is this true, and is this a part of our ascension process?
I believe so. It's not my area of expertise, but I do know that there are genetic changes that are spontaneously occurring.
There are some people, I think basically the majority of the indigos and crystals and all that, it's another loose term for incarnate, but they're being born with, instead of the 2-strand DNA that everybody else has, they're being born with 3- and 4-strand DNA, and it's natural random occurrence, but it's also related to the transition, except with everybody after the transition, we're all going to have 12 strands of DNA. All 12 become reactivated.
And to anyone who intends to activate your DNA, I would say save your money and do it yourself. Don't get somebody else to do this for you.
Or just wait until the transition.
Yeah, it's going to happen on its own.
Next question is for Drake. Drake, will the radioactive waste cesium-131 from Fukushima, which is now becoming pervasive throughout the Pacific and entering the food chain, be cleaned up or disappear upon the shift to 4D? Likewise, the Gulf of Mexico, will all those things be cleared up with the shift to 4D?
Everybody puts too much into the transition or shift, as it's called. You're going to have to take. We are going to have to take definitive actions in specific directions with very concise technologies in order to rectify the problems that we've created for ourselves. Now, we found out who. We found out the submarine that placed the atomic device that caused the shelf shift over there and the whole 9 yards. This has been outed by other people, so I didn't feel it necessary for me to out. There was an attempt to extort the treasury of Japan. Now, as far as the atomics goes, this thing's been in planning for about 15 years. I'll give you an idea as to how far back and how insidious these people are. They'll plan right down to the nitty-gritty. And so, yes, we're going to address, I've already stipulated several different treatment processes that some people are playing around with, and we'll see what happens. But, yes, the ideology of a over-the-top free radical like radiation is a big no-no. The reason it's a big no-no is that all it does is make more problems, no matter how you use it or what you do with it. There are places for it. Sons like to gobble it up. I mean, there's, throw a couple of extra logs on the fire is the way I look at it. There are a lot of possibilities that people are not aware of because they do not know the technologies that are going to become available. The whole thing's going to shift. In other words, our use of carbonics in terms of burning fuels and things of this nature are going to be a thing of the past. The ideology that the only way to get food is grow it, and the only way to get energy is to rape Mother Earth. Well, all this stuff's got to quit, and is going to. And the reason being is that if you think about it, and I mean, you really got to get your head on this. Think about what you saw in Star Trek and some of these other areas. These things are accurate in terms of the generality presented. Some of the technology has been around for, my best guess, some 400 years. You take water as a fuel, and you've heard of water cars, but you haven't heard about the ones where it actually creates a superplasma, becomes its own amplifier, and will drive a small starship quite a great distance on just a gallon or so. I mean, these things are... And if I can find something from 200 years ago that specifies somebody landing his spaceship in the backyard of a farmer who came out with his shotgun, and it's reported in a local paper because somebody noticed some odd things. I look at that and I go, dude, they did it back that far? Well, that means that we got a lot of catching up to do, and that's basically where it's at. This planet does not need to be screwed with like it's been. We don't need to be screwed with like we have been. We need to rectify things for two reasons. Number one, you owe it to your fellow man. Number two, we are not alone. We have neighbors, and they would consider it at least good manners not to take a crap in their area. That is not cool. That's all I got to say.
President, I just wanted to add that, contrary to what is being said in a lot of places about the current radiation levels of the Fukushima incident and even the environmental damage of the Gulf of Mexico, a lot of it has already been cleaned up and is actively being cleaned up and was from about the moment that it happened by various aquatic allies of the Federation and planetary members of the Federation. So it's probably, there's still some radiation, some environmental damage and problems continuing. There, I would say, probably a lot less than what they're being made out to be, and that they're being grossly exaggerated for the fear factor and the psychological impact.
Mm-hmm. There are people who have a stake in overstating the impact.
Okay. All right.
We call them bad guys.
Bad guys. The bad guys. Yeah. After the shift, will the possibilities of interaction with our family members who are not in our incarnation during the shift, will it be possible? That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
Everybody who's been freed from soul prisons is now waiting eagerly. So anybody who's died within the last 100 years or so is waiting eagerly to meet their current living relatives.
How can we identify someone who is under mind control or hypnosis? Are there any physical actions or something to look for that gives them away?
Usually it's in terms of attitude and things like that.
Personality and behavior,
Yeah.
Watch out for people that are cross-eyed all the time.
I don't know. Some people are born that way.
Right?
I'm talking about all the time. There's a difference there. Come on now.
There's some substances like scopolamine that produces very marked look in the eyes particularly. So that's one thing. But, usually it's behavioral.
Yep. Okay, yeah. Most people report, that people are almost like they respond bipolar. They're very kind, very considerate in 1 minute, and very mean and hateful and spewing venom the next, and/or
and
they're
it's usually
lethargic.
associated with a trigger.
Yep.
Yeah, and either that or they're totally lethargic, like we've seen, the young man that shot up all the people in the theater in Colorado, and he's just like, his eyes are open huge, but he's sound asleep behind his eyes.
Yeah, that's
just a void.
scopolamine eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Do our crystalline bodies still need oxygen and nutrients like our 3D bodies need right now? And do we still bleed? And also, will 4D or crystalline bodies still need to go to the bathroom and release liquids and solid waste?
Okay. Yes, there is
not a concern of
blood.
mine, but
Yes, there is blood. Yes, people are oxygen breathers, or nitrogen breathers, or methane breathers. Like there's various breathing and respiration that goes on. As for producing waste, no, when you take in food, you are taking in energy, not molecules. So this is taken in and used by the body in its entirety, and there is no requirement for waste.
Have you or any of you heard of a species called Essassani? I believe that would be how it's pronounced. Essassani.
Not off the top of my head.
No, I can't say that I've heard of them.
Okay, and then secondly, I have a memory of being visited by a race called the PA, who come from the Umiko universe. I was wondering if you had heard of that race, and if so, what they may look like.
Nope.
No, sorry. When it comes to things like that, the quote, "There are more things on heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy," comes very cogently to mind, in that the universe is unimaginably huge and unimaginably diverse. In addition to that, there are parallel universes, multiverses, multiverse clusters, super high dimensional universe trees. There are a lot of things out there, more than it is possible to comprehend in a synaptic brain. And no, we're not all aware of each other, and a lot of the joy is in discovering one another. I can bring up a recent example. We discovered another 3D human species that's been involved in Earth for the same period of time that we have, and we'd been passing over and through one another without even realizing that each other existed. And we've recently come into contact, and it's been a bit of a, oh, you guys are there. Okay. One of those things.
Okay. Are there weapons in 4D, and are they comparable to what we have now?
Yes, there are weapons that are recognizable as weapons. There's it's a lot preference based. I mean, like, we tend to, when we look at movies and things, everybody's thinking about like ray guns. Well, ray guns are fairly passé. On an enclosed environmental can in the middle of deep space, you don't want something that might shoot through the wall. Most combat is done hand to hand because, well, it doesn't really help you if you're fighting and you fire through the wall. Even if you're being attacked, they don't even want to go through the wall either, because they kind of want to either, take you as a prisoner or take your ship intact if they can. If you're going to destroy a ship, you do it with another ship. You don't do it with a rifle or a ray gun or a laser weapon. So you would recognize weapons that look like medieval weapons but maybe have amped up functionality. Swords are a favorite of many. Same with daggers, bows, crossbows. You do have people who like their ray guns, but it's really not as popular as science fiction would indicate. Phasers exist.
Force lances too, like they use in the
Andromeda series. Yeah, force lances exist. And additionally, there are those people who can produce attacks using their own mind or their own energy fields.
Okay. All right. Next question. I'm an architect, and I have been postponing taking my license exams because I'm feeling that the building methods we will be using will be considered very old-fashioned and unpractical. What are some of the construction methods and technologies that might be used in higher dimensions for buildings and spaceships?
Well, as an architect, you'd definitely be familiar with using a CAD program to design ahead of time a structure in 3D. Okay. Similar to that, our designers use computer-aided design that is, I guess, very, very similar in practice and theory, but probably a lot more powerful and a lot more comprehensive. Yeah. And then those are fed into replicators, industrial replicators, which are able to replicate the entire thing in one go, and they're very structurally sound. Issues such as the tensile strength of steel or the compressive strength of concrete or things like that, engineering things it's much, much easier to build something that's going to last without risking catastrophic failure at the wrong time.
Okay.
It's fun. It's an art form as well. It is not merely a matter of function. We have one guy who is crazy about architecture and makes the most beautiful things I've ever seen out of buildings. So there will be stuff for you. As for doing things like halting your now life, since we don't have an ETA, I don't recommend that you go and put everything on hold. Live as though you're in deep cover, meaning that you still have to pretend that things are going to continue until they change, but be prepared for change. So go get your certification or whatever it is. I'm still going to go get my H2S Alive ticket. Things like that, Do the things you have to.
Right. Okay. Will cars fly, and will interplanetary travel be done on an individual basis?
Yes, there are personal craft.
Yeah, and then there will also be shuttlecraft. I mean, it's there are shuttlecrafts that run, on like trade routes and that kind of thing between planets and between star systems and between galaxies, and there's even, I would say, a big tourist industry, and there's various races that that spend their entire lives running groups of people from one planet to the next to the next to the next.
Yep, and, I'm mostly familiar with military vessels, but there are civilian trade and transportation and tourism routes, and you wouldn't probably take a scout craft between the interstellar void, but you definitely would take a liner, and then once you got to your destination, you grab a scout craft and buzz around. And as for cars, I don't think personal transportation will resemble what we've been used to.
Okay.
Generally, what I like to recommend for people that want to get like a base concept of what what potentially the planet may be like as far as transportation, industry structure, that kind of thing. There's a book, I know it's available to read for free on bibliotechapleiades.net called Contact from Planet Iarga. It'll give you a good base concept, like a general idea. Or watch Star Trek. 95% of Star Trek, the series itself, the various series, is based on facts and reality and real things. So watch Star Trek. Watch the Andromeda series. Watch Babylon 5. That'll give you basically a good idea, a good grasp of what potentiality could be for Terra in the coming after post-transition time frame.
Star Trek is especially worth of note in that there are so many different kinds of humans. Now, Star Trek suffers from funny forehead syndrome, which is how they differentiate between different species of human on there with, slap on a prosthetic or paint some dots on there or dye them blue or whatever. But yeah, out there, it's mostly humans or people who look humanoid.
Yeah, the human form is actually the oldest in all of creation.
I'm still hoping it's like the Jetsons. I always wanted to be Jane Jetson. They have a Rosie.
I don't know,
robot.
that was awful housewifey.
Okay, let's see. Next question. Will the night sky, or the daytime sky for that matter, look any different due to the change in vibrational frequencies in 4D?
Yeah, it looks a lot prettier.
Yeah, and a lot more clear. We won't have, the clouding of the chemtrails. We'll, probably see a lot more stars and a lot more of the various, star systems and constellations and the nebulas and all that.
Mhm. You start to remove all the crud in the atmosphere that was put there artificially, and it becomes very, very lovely blue. Plus, at a higher dimensional, the sky is a very bright, deep blue. The ocean looks a lot more clear and crystalline as well. You go up to the 6th dimension and view Terra from the 6th dimension, and watching the waves is hypnotic. It's very beautiful.
Okay, some of these questions are a little bit repetitive, and I apologize for that, but, many of them were asked in advance of the program and that kind of thing. Okay. Drake, if we are entering a golden age on our planet, is it likely that Gaia will go back into another masculine age of war and famine sometime in the future because of the cosmic clock and the cycles that you have talked about? If we choose to come here for the experience of struggle and contrast, then it's likely that we'd want to experience it again.
That sounds like a loaded question. No, what you have to understand is that we're moving out of the physicality. The physicality is the prime reason for the problems that we come across in terms of keeping our stuff together. Basically what that means is that as you get away from the physical requirements that put us here in the position and condition we're in, then what you have done is you have begun to put things into a perspective where you don't have to be so worried about each and every last little thing that comes down the road. And that lessens the competition, and that also loosens society up to start making decisions that will be correct for everybody, not just a select few. This is the difference in power. This is a communal type of organization, and we're going to eventually end up having to go that direction. So, yeah, get ready. And, no, don't expect the wars to get worse. Don't expect fun and games here or upstairs, either one. These things are being handled and mitigated, meaning that they are being lessened both in probability and in capability and actuality, reality. So, the golden age, one day you'll be able to sit in the grass with your eyes closed in the lotus position with your fingers crossed and go, all you want. Next.
Oh,
okay,
that cycles are also spiral. It isn't necessary to return. If you're returning to something on the same point in the cycle, it may be higher up still. So in which case it would be expressed differently and not necessarily all these things we associate with masculinity and male domination. Keep in mind that isn't necessarily true male domination. That is male reptoid domination.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of
boys
that
aren't like that everywhere else.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really heavily Draco influenced.
All right, next question. Ready for next one? Can any of you describe the Breneau, Breneau. I'm having to do a lot of spelling. Brene,
I think.
B-R-E-N-E. Go ahead.
I've heard the word. I can't remember what it's associated with.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Okay. Drake, do you know? Apparently not. Drake?
Say the question again.
B-R-E-N-E-A-U? Breneau?
R-E-N-E-A-U. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where. What's it? Okay. What do they want validity on it?
They just said, can you describe it? The Breneau.
Oh, okay. They're talking about actionability. No, I'm not going to do that. Take too long.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Will all 12 strands of our DNA be reactivated upon ascension, and will there be any need for the healing arts?
Yes, all 12 DNA strands will be reactivated, so will all 12 nucleotides, and we'll regain our 48 chromosomes. Healing arts are required and still exist and still necessary up into infinite dimensions because, they're still always needed and will always be needed.
Yeah, people sometimes, it doesn't matter who you are, you can miscalculate and hurt yourself. Or if you're the warrior type, you might end up in a battle and get hurt.
Okay.
Things like biological illnesses caused by genetics, those are fairly rare, and it's usually a result of some kind of hostile action. Same with illnesses caused by microorganisms, because most microorganisms at higher dimensions are purely beneficial unless somebody comes along and alters them to be weapons.
Okay.
I'm going to add something.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me add something real quick. If a person can still stub their toe, you'll need the healing arts. It does not limit, but it doesn't limit stubbing your toe to physical. You can stub your toe mentally. I run across those people regularly on our shows.
Okay. To any of you, will my imagination ever grant me the gift of flight?
You want it bad enough, I'm sure you'll find a way.
Yeah. Levitation becomes a natural ability right around when you hit the 5th dimension or 6th dimension, somewhere in there. But it is possible for some races and beings to do it even in the 4th dimension. If we're talking about levitation kind of flight anyway, depending on if it's a natural innate ability or not.
Okay. Let's see. Just curious, but how common is the use of directed energy weapons, such as phasers or energy rifles, off-world? And did Terrans ever develop this sort of sophisticated energy weapon?
Yeah, the Terrans do have some.
Yeah, but they're used very, very frequently up in space, especially among the military.
Usually, we like to keep, we believe that everybody has a right to defend themselves. Everybody has a right to self-defense. Ownership of a personal weapon is not legislated. It's generally not polite to bring your phaser or your sword or your, butterfly knife or whatever into like a diplomatic meeting or something like that. But nobody cares if you've got a phaser at your hip. Everybody has a right to self-defense. There's no legislation such as what you see down here where people are trying to take away your right to defend yourself. It's a universal right. It's assumed.
Good. Okay. Next question is, Tanaath, you had said that when we die, we go back to Source. Is it a dimension of Source? Does every soul go there, even the bad guys? And how long till we reincarnate? Now, I know some of these questions have been partially answered. So.
Yeah, some of them have been answered in full and in part. I'll give the quick. when you die as a human on Earth, you usually go to the next dimension, not necessarily to Source or to the holding pens. If you die in higher dimensions, you go to Source. How long you stay in Source is depending on you. There really isn't time at that point. At some point, you will decide you have enough and you leave. Everything goes to Source, even the bad guys. Source is everything.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Is there anything our different family members can do to us when they visit to minimize our freaking out from the sight of them? Can they spray us with some sort of calming substance like valerian? Or, for instance,
no, but they'll hold your hand.
They probably won't spray you with anything or apply substances to you, but they'll use comforting presence and comforting energy. You'll likely be able to recognize them. They may not look like they did when they left. Most people appear to be about 30 years old, unless they were younger than that when they passed on. Regardless of whatever age they were when they passed on.
Yeah, that's a frequently asked question of me. I hear a lot of people saying, when we come back, are we going to come back as like a reborn infant? Are we going to be in our infancy? Or are we going to come back as just a young adult or back at the same age that we are now?
You'll be an adult. You'll be, if you're like me, who has been physically disabled for most of her life, you won't come back you won't have those disabilities. You will be like the ideal version of yourself at about 30 years old in peak physical condition and mental condition. Or if you were younger than that, you'll still be an ideal version of that.
Good. Okay. Are we presently being worked on for supporting our body health while sleeping at night? In preparation.
Healers, yes. For some, there are people that are, there are different, the different ET races that do come and do medical healing on their incarnate when people sleep.
I would not say that's a universal thing. I would say you might be working on yourself. I would say be leery of anybody who comes and says they're going to work on you that you didn't ask for or invite or don't know.
I totally agree.
Okay, this one's for Drake. Drake, I have the greatest respect and regard for you and send you all the love that you can accept. Why do you continuously use the Bible as a reference instead of the Torah or the Quran? Since all of these works are tools of human control anyway.
Well, that's a nice question, really. Many of the things in terms of principle are applicable through cosmic law. What's interesting is that the people that wrote the books screwed up and allowed a little bit of the truth into them. If you take any of the references that I've made specifically to principle and look in the Quran and other places, you'll find those things evident there as well. In short, if you want something to be believable, but you want to spin the most god-awful mess of horse hockey in the whole world, you got to put some truth in there and spice it up a little bit and really make it convincing. And, brother, you got to believe. And therefore, you end up with the things that I have elucidated to and used as reference.
A spoonful of sugar makes bad medicine go down?
Exactly. Yep. And so the ideology is that the opiate of the people, known as religion or belief systems, is given out measured. You don't find priests walking on water like they're supposed to. You don't find the signs, miracles, and wonders so self-evident as to be something that everyday people could do. I mean, my goodness, you don't need the church to do these things? Ooh, what happens to our money maker? Now you get the picture. Now, I know that's a little raw, but that's the way it is. Okay?
Greetings to Sunfire, Tanaath, and Drake and company. I guess I am what is called the light worker. I have worked with the Arcturians and the Pleiadians and beings called the Blue People. All in all, all in the cause of love for the planet and all of the inhabitants and those in the beyond. A few of my friends have seen a reptilian streak in me, as I am seeing me shift into a reptile and back to a human. My question is, will this reptilian side of me make my ascension more difficult or impossible? And does my free will override this aspect of me?
Your free will does or can override. When it comes to something like that, the best thing you can do is become aware of it and decide, is this something that bothers me? Is this something I wish to change? Because if it is something you wish to change, you can and you will.
Okay.
But if, on the other hand, if you decide, I prefer to be this way, you're not going to change.
I am both Christian and traditional Native American, and I do give respect to people regarding belief systems, such as they have been led often falsely to believe. However, when an evangelical stated that gays have no conscience and only Christians are righteous, I drew the line. I asked, so God created 4 main spiritual paths for the 4 main cultures and then condemned 3 of them. I also stated that people born with different DNA or unable to be heterosexual because of childhood sexual abuse should not be condemned. I do not know that Jesus agrees on these points. What say you?
With that, I would say that Jesus, the being that was known as Jesus, was an extra dimensional. The whole hatred towards gays, homosexuality, stems from the reptoids who invented Christianity as a form of control, and their hatred of getting their butts kicked and handed to them on silver platters by the Andromeda every time they try to stick their hands in the Voluntary system. The Andromeda are genetically born homosexual or gay, so it's something that's prevalent with the entire race, and they were the ones that genetically introduced the homosexuality genetics into the Terran population. And this is where the dislike of homosexuals comes from, is because the reptoids don't like getting their butts kicked by the Andromeda.
Pretty much. And I would also submit that the being known as Jesus was, there was not one being. There was one dude who we now remember as, but the deeds that are ascribed to that being were actually conducted by many beings.
Yeah.
At the same time. It was a small incarnate invasion in an attempt to teach. And whether or not it succeeded, well, a lot of those teachings survived, but other interests were very quick to co-opt them and piggyback their own controlling and repressive ideologies along with all of those.
A question for Toth and or Drake and or anyone else. I was just listening, and believe me, I'm behind, listening to the audio of a Gordon Duff interview and him saying that anyone thinking that there are any good ETs is sadly mistaken, and that I have to say that when he was on, I was almost sickened to listen to him and his huge ego. It was almost hard to take. What are your thoughts on the Gordon Duff interview, which I know was last year after the election, but before 12/21/12? I just recently listened to it, and I thought that he is one of the most arrogant persons to me and is more about the money than about humanity in general. What are your opinions of him? And thank you for all that you do.
I think that Gordon Duff has a lot of really good intel, especially when it comes to things like 9/11 and that kind of thing, but for him to come out and state that only bad ETs exist is just as wrong or lacking knowledge and awareness of, as if with those like Stephen Greer and Dolores Cannon and the others that say only good ETs exist. Nature and existence dictates that all varieties of good ETs, bad ETs, neutrals, etc. exist. I mean, it would be like saying that all people on Terra are good and there's no bad, there's no bad Terrans. And it's like you can see with your own eyes that there's good people, there's bad people, and then there's people that are in between. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like a common sense thing. You gotta use your common sense to, take into consideration those kind of things.
Okay. Can any of you explain holographic inserts?
They're holographic. The universe itself is holographic in nature, and when it comes to like holographic inserts, it's like taking a piece of a puzzle, and maybe even though the puzzle's already created and already completed, or sometimes it's just taking a piece of a puzzle and putting it in a different place, or just inserting. When you're making a graph, when you're creating an image graphically, taking a shape and putting it in the image, that would be practically about the same thing. You're taking a piece of holographic information and inserting it into that reality or that program or that thing.
Can we backtrack for a moment, or?
Go for it.
I want to. We were talking a bit about Gordon Duff and this notion that there are no good aliens or anything like that. It reminds me a lot of the Marshall V. N. Summers and his quote-unquote allies of humanity and that material. And the material contains some of the same basic messages. And these are, and I can address them point by point. 1, aliens exist. 2, they all want our stuff. 3, they are fighting over us like dogs over a bone. 4, they've been interfering with us since we first stood upright. 5, we are somehow hopelessly outmatched against them. 6, anyone who tries to tell us that they are here to help must be lying because they all want our stuff. 7, humanity is entirely without any meaningful allies. And 8, that's okay because we're good, and even though we refuse to step in, we're rooting for you. So I've got real problems with this because it's a very incredibly disempowering message. For that alone, I would discard it as, complete and utter horse hockey. Be careful with that kind of material. If it leaves you feeling like it's the end of the world and you're hopeless, that is put there to harm you. It is not the truth. So I'll present you with the with the revised list. Aliens exist. There's thousands of different kinds occupying multiple layers of existence, including spirit realms, dimensions, densities, parallel universes, incarnated like humans, as well as what we would understand as conventional space-based things that we could conceivably visit in a spaceship. 2, some of them want our stuff. Some of them want to stop the ones who want our stuff. Some don't give a damn either way. Some just want to see us make it through this without destroying ourselves and our planet. Some genuinely love us and are doing everything within their laws, morals, culture, and power to see to it that we win. 3, there is a lot of interaction going on up there, including alliances being made and canceled, people working together, people warring, people causing mischief, people trying their damnedest to help Earth and Earth humans. While there's plenty of squabbling, it is not for who gets the right to gnaw on us. 4, aliens have been interfering with us since we first started standing upright. This is largely because Earth humanity is descended from several different kinds of aliens. In the last 10 to 15,000 years, somehow the ones that aren't very nice are the ones who won out and got the ability to interfere with us more unfettered. This is coming to an end. We are definitely not outmatched. Humans have a great deal of power, though we've been forcibly lied to, indoctrinated, and told this wasn't the case in an effort to trick us into never exercising that. In addition, we do have allies. There are many aliens that have absolutely no need for our stuff and would help us out simply because it is the right thing to do, or because they hate the ones that are trying to take us over, or because they're bored and need entertainment and it's more fun to see us succeed. Whatever their motivations, we do have meaningful allies. Marshall V. N. Summers' allies of humanity are likely anything but, and are more likely to be a clever ruse of the negatives to get us to give up hope and stop struggling so we can go down the throat a little easier. The situation is complex and confusing, but we are equipped with tools to handle it. Foremost among those tools are our ability to discern and our ability to assert our own sovereignty personally and at a societal level. So yes, it's a bit of a mess, to put it lightly. I would use your discernment.
Okay. You there? Hello? Uh-oh.
I'm here.
Her call just dropped.
That's our fan club, I guarantee you.
Yeah, and we've got 3.5 minutes left. Okay. Well, please call back, baby. Okay. I had one more question I was going to ask, but let me wait and see if they are able to dial back in. No, they probably won't be able to dial back in because they've been disconnected in overtime.
That sounds about average.
Yeah, let me see if they can. They may not be able to get in.
Well, I've got some answers for you.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Tanaath disappeared. Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. No, I'm not seeing them being able to dial back in just yet.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we've got about 3.5 minutes left, Drake. We'll hope that they can come back in, and I can at least thank them. And the one other question was, can someone please
hold
explain
on a minute.
Go ahead.
There's more to the question that she was answering, and
okay, go ahead.
It goes to the reason they were cut off.
Probably.
No, definitely. I've been dealing with these people for a while now, and I found out who's who. What the deal is very simple. When you start talking adversely about a cabal member, you get cut off. The discussion revolved around Gordon Duff. I found out what his connections are, who he works for, and the whole 9 yards. And